Ladies and gentlemen, it is 5 o'clock, so we will go ahead and start the committee for tonight. Welcome to the City of Jacksonville City Council's Land Use and Zoning Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. It is 5 p.m., and I call this meeting to order. We will start with introductions. We're going to switch it up and start all the way down on my right today. Feeling fancy.
I'm Casey with the Planning and Development Department.
Erin Abney, Planning Department.
Elena Parola, Planning Department.
Don Rangel with the Office of General Counsel.
Good afternoon, evening. Rory Diamond, District 13, The Peaches.
Good afternoon. Reginald Gaffney Jr., District 8.
Joe Carlucci, District 5.
Kevin Carrico, District 4.
Good evening. Raul Arias, District 11.
Good afternoon. Rockman Johnson, District 14. And Casey, I look forward to seeing your analysis of the Salem Amendment until you get a name tag. Thank you.
Ken Maurer, City Council, District 1.
Will Lane, District 3, just west of the beaches.
All right. Thank you for joining us to our visiting council member. And I understand Councilmember Pittman is on her way. So we are going to pull you guys' bills up so you don't have to hang out with us all night. So, Mr. Lane, your item will go first unless Ms. Pittman walks in the door in the next 10 seconds. That would be, which one is that? 249. Page 11, item 24, 2025-0249. Give everybody a second to get there. Again, we're going with page 11, item 24, 2025-0249. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you may have at this time. And we would like to acknowledge Council Member Reggie Gaffney Jr. Welcome, Mr. Gaffney. Page 11, item 24, 2025-0429. Looking for ex parte. Councilman Amaro, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yesterday, I had a conversation with, I think it's in reference to this for some reason, Cindy Trimmer, and that information will be filed with Legislative Services.
Council Member Lanen.
Thank you, Chair. My ex partes from last week, I had two separate meetings on the 14th. The first was with Cindy Trimmer. The first was with Jason Gabriel and Aubrey Edge of Dailies, and then the second meeting was with Cindy Trimmer and Steve Diebenow. This has been filed with Legislative Services.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lane. And I have ex parte to claim. I received a phone call from Steve Diebenow last week. I think it was Friday. He explained to me that they were representing Costco in this endeavor and went over some of the details of the rezoning. Also received a phone call from Jason Gabriel, who represents Daly's Place, and they expressed their concern with the development. And we'll get all that filed with Legislative Services. Councilmember Diamond.
Thank you. Declaring ex parte communications. I spoke with Aubrey Edge about this briefly over the weekend, and I spoke with Jordan Ellsbury about the same. I'll file with Legislative Services. Thanks.
All right. No one else, so let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0249, which seeks to rezone approximately 13.9 acres of land from a PUD that was approved back in 2000 to a new PUD. The rezoning is being sought to allow for the development of a members-only fuel facility for fuel sales for Costco members in conjunction with the existing Costco retail store. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan with the existing land use category of CGC. We find it furthers the goals and objectives of the comp plan and meets the internal and external compatibility factors. The subject property is located north of JTB Boulevard and east of Gate Parkway. The subject property is located within the St. John's Town Center, which is a mix of uses allowed under that current PUD. The development standards will remain the same as the previous PUD, including setbacks, parking calculations, and existing landscaping. The new fuel facility will be located within the existing parking area. This is near the eastern property boundary. On the submitted site plan, there will be a 70-foot setback from the eastern property boundary to the fuel facility, and that eastern property is bordered by a retention pond. Approximately 123 parking spaces will be impacted with the new facility, leaving a total of 655 spaces remaining. Part 6 of the zoning code requires that a minimum of 3 spaces per 1,000 square feet, totaling the need for the site to provide a minimum of 454 spaces. So the site is still meeting the minimum required parking for the proposed use. The application was reviewed by the Transportation Division. They stated that the Transportation Management Area, so this is the TMA, is out of trips. So the project will be required to apply for mobility, and will also be required to do a traffic circulation study in order to identify some internal impacts due to the use. So we find the proposed use to be appropriate for the area, including with the required traffic circulation study. So we are forwarding a recommendation of approval with the 3 exhibits in the staff report and the 1 condition listed in your agenda. The application was heard by Planning Commission on May 8th, where there was 1 speaker in opposition who voiced concerns related to traffic that would be generated by the fuel facility, along with the existing congestion that's within the town center. The commission felt that the proposed condition to conduct a traffic study would be adequate to determine the impacts on the subject property, and they had no concerns about the proposed use, so they voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you for that. We have no speaker cards up here, but I see Mr. Deebenow with a green card in his hand. I'm assuming you're here for this bill, Mr. Deebenow? All right, Mr. Steve Deebenow, you are recognized.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, my name is Steve Deebenow, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. With me today is Nick Toze with Costco, and there was conversation at the last Planning Commission regarding traffic, and so I have 1 handout. I shared this with Lori a little bit earlier in the day, and so she's had a moment to review it. Rather than me putting these all together, I'm just going to hand these out to you, ask that they be handed out. This analysis was completed by professional engineers on Costco's behalf. There's just 1 of each, so 3 total. And the quick summary on this, again, the staff report was great. The quick summary on this is that Costco has completed analysis on other similar fueling positions throughout the country. In fact, there are 10 representative examples in this analysis that, when applied to this location, ends up yielding only about 56. Again, if you do all the analysis that's included in this report and the affidavit that's been signed by the professional engineer, this particular development would only equate to about 56 AM peak hour trips and 77 PM peak hour trips. And there's a whole analysis on why that is. It's included in the affidavit as well as the report, and I'm sure that the city's traffic folks can address that as well. Happy to answer any questions, but we stand by the recommendation. We agree to the condition that's proposed, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, that's our last speaker card. No one in the queue. No, that's not true. Councilman Amaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Mr. Deebenow, this concept or the use of this facility, again, and I thought I heard planning say, is for members only, correct?
Yes, sir.
Members only meaning exclusively to members of Costco who may be going there routinely.
That's correct.
Not the general public.
That's correct. You have to be a member in order to use the fueling positions that are in this rezoning, correct?
And it will only add, through the chair, a total of 77 new trips?
Well, as it's described in the report, the total is 872 new external daily trips. I'm reading from the bottom of page 2 of the memo that's got the orange K in the upper left-hand corner that was just handed out. So 56 AM peak hour trips, that is 56 trips, is a car coming or a car going. So 56 trips equates to basically 28 cars. One might be coming, one might be going in the morning hour at the peak time. And then 77 trips in the PM peak hour. And that is because, well, there's a bunch of reasons why. One is because, yes, they're all members of Costco. It's not open to the general public. Another reason is because they would be going to Costco anyway. That's called a pass-by trip. It's also because people that are driving on the network in the vicinity, they divert their trip and they go to Costco. They happen to be a member and they go there, but they were on the road network anyway. And so those numbers that I mentioned, the 56 and the 77, those are the new trips based on the new use.
Through the chair, one more question. And what's considered, time-wise, what's considered peak hours, AM, peak hours, PM?
I believe it's 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Typically, but whatever the peak hour is, it's the engineers followed what is generally accepted in the traffic engineering world, and I'm sure that the city's traffic engineer can correct me if I've stated those timeframes incorrectly. Overall, the other thing that's of interest is that there's about 51,000 vehicles that travel on the roads in this vicinity, and the total number of trips is less than 2% increase in the 51,000 trips that exist today or on the roadway.
All right, let's go ahead and close the public hearing and bring this back to committee. I have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Reingold.
Sure. The amendment is to adopt a condition, which is that a traffic circulation study shall be provided at civil site plan review to determine internal impacts. The traffic study shall meet the requirements of the Land Development Procedures Manual, Section 1.1.11, January 2024. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you. Before we vote on the amendment, do you want to speak on this amendment, Mr. District Councilman Lana?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Just a few comments here because, like I said, I met with both parties. And I do have some concerns. I know there's that one condition, that was the amendment just explained. But just want to highlight my concerns. And then, again, you guys are the experts. Maybe there is some sort of additional conditions we can get to. But bottom line, I mean, the town center is the most visited place in Jacksonville. And it's actually right on the border. This location is right on the border of my district and District 11, and it used to be part of District 4. So I know a number of us are familiar with the area. And so really I just want to make it sure, since it's very much a revenue-producing area for Jackson as well, that everyone has a safe and pleasant experience. Regarding the entrance, there is just the one main entrance off of there. So I want to make sure that we're all confident that this is not going to have traffic back up onto what would be Gate Parkway there. So pretty much as soon as you leave District 11, it's the first right-hand turn. So I want to make sure that I don't cause traffic to go from District 3 all the way down to District 11. There's a very similar setup right now in District 3. It's BJ's Wholesale Club at Atlantic and Kernan, very similar setup, but there's two exits. You can go out and get onto either Kernan or Beach Boulevard. The parking, it is a 16% reduction overall, going from 778 to 655. So some of the information I was wondering, on a given day, do we know how much of that parking is being occupied? Because my concern there is if it's always at 90-95%, people dead set on going to Costco are now going to park to the north. You can kind of find your way around those other buildings and park in the parking that was designed for the Rooms to Go, Sprouts, some of the other smaller businesses there. And then just the flow, even though there's only one main entrance in, you can weave around and find a way to get out of that parking lot going through very small roads. It's not ideal. I know there's the condition for the internal circulation study, but I guess, and maybe y'all dealt with this before, I haven't, I don't think we're going to see the results of that study once it is done. And so my concern, what if it says, hey, this is a horrible idea, it's going to cause all types of issues? Just want to make sure that we know what that study truly says as well. So again, those are my concerns. I look forward to hearing the conversation, and maybe there's some additional conditions we can work out to make sure that we are all confident in what's going to be created here. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ayers, we're still on the amendment. Would you like to speak on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendment carries. Councilman Arias, you recognize we have a motion and a second on the bill.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Steven, please. Earlier, you just stated that right now there's 56 a.m. peak hour trips and 77 p.m. And so when you were saying that, I was like, oh, well, that doesn't sound too bad. A.m., I'm thinking 6 a.m. to about 11 a.m. and p.m. being 12 to about whenever they close. But when Mr. Amaro asked you that question, you said a.m. would be 7 to 8 a.m. and p.m. would be 5 to 6. So you're looking at 2 hours out of the day. Out of those 2 hours, you're looking at 133 total trips. So what about the other 11 hours? As it is right now, that part of town, as Mr. Elena just alluded, I mean, that's almost my district as well. I travel through there every single day. So what about the other 11 hours? How many total trips will we have there? Number one. Number two, you stated it's only a members-only club. True. But Costco doesn't have 2 members or 50 members. They have hundreds, if not thousands. So how many members do they have here in the Jacksonville region?
Right. I don't know how many members are at Costco, and I'm sure they have that information. But the traffic studies that are used for this report are based on similar fueling station counts. So 24 fueling positions at a Costco, which is approximately the same size as the one that exists today at the town center. I agree that the number of members is an interesting and important fact, but the true fact that is most applicable to the rezoning is the number of cars, the number of trips. And so, yes, during the 1 hour period, that's one of the ways that traffic is measured, is how many trips are there within the AM peak and the PM peak. Those are the numbers that we gave. But I also mentioned that there are 872 trips during the day. Those are called daily trips. The Costco is open typically around 12 to 14 hours a day, depending on the day of the week. And if you divide 872 trips by 14 hours, that ends up being about 60 trips per hour, which again, remember, a trip can be in or out. So that's about 30 cars per hour throughout the day. That is incremental traffic above what exists today in terms of new trips. The other thing I want to mention if I can, that answers your question. And I'd love to answer some of Councilman Lannon's concerns whenever available, but sure. Councilman, I don't want to take away from your time. I'm sorry.
No worries. So, so through the chair, you mentioned 60 average trips per hour per day. How many trips does Costco currently generate right now as it is?
I don't know the trip count. I don't know the trip count specifically today. Okay. That's something that we did a concurrency reservation certificate, and I can probably find that information for you, but I don't have it right at the tip of my fingers.
Okay. There's already a Wawa. There's already a Dailies. There's 2 gas stations within that vicinity. To add an additional 1,000 trips per day for another gas station seems a little bit ludicrous, especially for that part of town. That little section there, you're looking at Gay Parkway, going into Town Center Parkway, or whatever that street is called. I can't find the street here. That's just too much for that one little speck of a roadway right there. As it is, on any given day, not even Mother's Day, on a regular shopping day, there's already traffic backed up all the way through to JTB just to get to that part of the town center. So when you're talking about 60 additional trips per day, that's 61 too many. And the fact that we don't have the total member count for Costco, how do you determine 60 trips if you don't even know the member count of Costco's right now for the Jacksonville region? I can't take action on this, support this, not knowing these numbers. And that's why I'm going to be a no vote for this, because, like I said, I live in that area, and as it is, we cannot withstand any more traffic there, especially given that there's already 2 gas stations right next door. So I don't understand the need for us to pass this legislation. Thank you.
Councilman Amaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate my fellow council member's argument for his district. There are a couple of things that I think that are not even, it gives context. The total member count really, it has no reflect on how many are going to be using the station. If it's 1,000 members, there'll never be 1,000 members using that station. I'm a member of one of these shopping clubs. It's not BJ's, and I know exactly the pattern and the behavior of those who go there to buy groceries or buy gas. Having another gas station, and I travel that road, by the way, quite frequently, and yes, it's a traffic nightmare. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. It's whether you're coming from James Island direction or you're coming from Southside Boulevard, that whole corridor is heavily congested all the time. The planning department seems to recommends approval, that it meets their threshold. It's a modification of a PUD. We're here to support business when businesses are doing good things. I don't know the backstory, but on the face of the application, on the report of the planning department, and I hear the council member's concern, and I'd like to hear him suggest some other conditions to move this forward, but I think it's business trying to do business, and we're here to support business. And so I'll support this.
Councilmember Carlucci.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, I mean, we've all been out to the town center, and not to echo any of the statements here, but the egress and ingress on this is just, it's non-existent. There's literally one lane coming in between Daly's and BJ's restaurant. You can make a case that you could possibly get to it from going around the elbow to get to your thumb or whatever, but this is way too much to try to shove a gas station in basically this lot right here. The trips, I think the reports, we look at these reports all the time, and we just kind of hope that the numbers will be what the numbers say that they'll be, but I think anyone who goes out there on any given day during those peak times, you wouldn't need to see a report. You would be able to quickly decipher that this would be a colossal mistake for putting it right here in the spot. So I'm not going to be supporting this. I would urge my colleagues not to support this, regardless of whatever conditions you think we can put on this to make it better. I don't think that's going to happen. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Diamond.
Oh man, I hate this one because I love Steve Deebenow, and if anybody could get something like this through, it's Steve, and that's just a fact. I'm a no today. Put aside the fact that I burned my Costco card a couple weeks ago. It has nothing to do with that. I just don't think you can condition your way out of this. I think there's competent, substantial evidence on the record that this is too congested, and as somebody who has to drive through there almost every day also, I mean, it just doesn't seem like a good idea. Thanks.
All right, I guess that leaves me. So I actually live about 1.5 miles from here. It used to be my district until the lines changed. Probably drive by the intersection of Gate Parkway and Town Center Boulevard 4 or 5 times a week. It's got to be the worst intersection in town. You've got to wait at the light to go left at least twice, sometimes 3 times. The 2 lanes merge together. Those cones are always destroyed in the middle of the road because people are just fighting for their life, it seems like, on that street. So to put a gas station there where we already have 2 gas stations and add more traffic just doesn't make sense, especially for a private club. There's no public use for that. If we're going to add additional cars on the road and make things a little more dangerous, it shouldn't be for the elite. It should be for everybody. So we will. So I'm going to be a no, Mr. Reingold.
Through the chair to the whole committee, if it's possible. I've heard the statements from everybody. We've got a planning department recommendation of approval. We've had Mr. Deebenow get up and provide his argument. There's been no one showed up in opposition today. I just need to understand.
Are you giving us your opinion on whether our testimony is valid? Is that your job?
My responsibility is I've got to write an amendment that is to write down what is the basis of the denial, and I'm just looking for some assistance.
Councilman Diamond's got you covered. Councilman Diamond, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And through the chair to Dylan. Look, competent substantial evidence as described under Florida law can include the folks up here and what they've said today, which is that they know this neighborhood, they know this intersection. There's already too much traffic there as we speak. And even though there is evidence going the other way, this body in its quasi-judicial function has found that the balance of the evidence goes towards denial.
Thank you, Mr. Diamond. So we did move the bill. So we have at least 4 people that have stated on the record that they're in against it. Should we amend to deny, or should we just vote it down? Okay. All right. No one else is in the queue. Open the ballot. Record your vote.
One yea, 6 nays.
By your action, this body has denied 2025-0249. Mr. Reingold, is that sufficient, or do we need to reopen it back up? I have a motion to reconsider. Do I have a second? All in favor of the reconsider, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone against, say nay. Nay. Okay. I have a motion and a second to amend to deny. All in favor to amend to deny, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill has, yes, all that. Now I have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. So if you want to keep the way you voted last time, this time you will hit the green button. And if you voted yes last time, you want to vote yes again, you will vote no on this one. I think that makes sense. Open the ballot, record your vote.
Six yeas, 1 nay.
By your action, you've amended to deny 2025-0249. All right, we have Ms. Pittman in the building. Welcome, Councilwoman Pittman from District 10, the mega district. We're going to move to your bill, which I believe is actually the next item, which is item 25, 2025-0255. Is that right, Ms. Pittman? That's what you're here for? Oh, page 12, item 25. All right. So let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is legislation proposed by Councilwoman Pittman to amend the zoning code to remove the use of liquor stores by right and allow them by zoning exception within the zoning district of CCG2. The bill additionally amends Part 8, increasing the required distance between a liquor license location with off-premises consumption of all alcoholic beverages and a church or school from the current regulation of 500 feet to 1,500 feet. It also establishes a distance requirement of 3,500 feet between 2 liquor license locations approved for the off-premises consumption of all alcoholic beverages. The need for this change is a result of noticeable increases in package stores in close proximity to existing residential neighborhoods, which currently are allowed by right if the property is zoned CCG2. The purpose of this legislation is to establish more stringent regulations for packaged liquor stores, allowing the city to analyze the potential impacts on surrounding communities where these businesses will be located. These changes will also allow for community input during a public hearing process and promote transparency. These zoning exceptions will have 2 public comment opportunities with the full city council and LUZ, as alcohol-related exceptions are to be considered by the full city council. Currently, the minimum distance limitation for packaged liquor stores is 500 feet from churches or schools, while the distance for on-premises consumption not associated with a restaurant is 1,500 feet. An increase in the distance from 500 feet to 1,500 feet will provide additional protection for the health, safety, and welfare of the community in which these properties or these uses are located. There is also an avenue through the waiver of liquor distance application for applicants to seek a reduction in this distance limitation, which would be heard by the Planning Commission. While the department is supportive of the 2 previously mentioned changes to the zoning code, staff is forwarding a proposed amendment to remove the distance requirement of 3,500 feet between 2 liquor license locations that are approved for the off-premises consumption of alcohol. The zoning code limits the use to a select few zoning districts, including CCG1, CCG2, IL, and IH, all of which are allowed only by a zoning exception except for CCG2, which with this passing would again require a zoning exception in all 4 of those zoning districts. Liquor licenses for package stores are also limited in a number based on the population growth within a county. So the state already limits the amount of liquor stores that can open within a county. The majority of the operating packaged liquor stores within the city are concentrated along our major commercial corridors. These locations are appropriate for this type of business as they are situated along high traffic roadways, they're surrounded by complementary businesses, and they're usually distanced from residential areas. Implementing and enforcing this distance limitation could create regulatory complexities and lead to unintended consequences, such as the expansion of these liquor stores into more undesirable locations. So because of these reasons, staff is forwarding a recommendation of approval with a proposed amendment to remove the requirement of the 3,500 feet between the 2 liquor store locations. This item was heard by the Planning Commission on May 8th, where there were no speakers in opposition and little discussion amongst the commissioners. The commission did ask about existing liquor stores and if this legislation would impact their ability to continue operations. So when it comes to existing liquor stores, they would be grandfathered in unless or until the ownership changes or they move to a new facility or property. Then the liquor store would need to seek a new zoning exception and or maybe a waiver of liquor distance. With this explanation, the commission had no other concerns, and they voted unanimously for approval for the first 2 requests, but followed the planning department's recommendation to remove the 3,500 feet between 2 liquor store locations.
All right, thank you for that report. We have both the bill sponsors here. Either of you want to tee it off? Councilwoman Pittman?
First of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. I had a chance to speak at the Planning Commission, and as you all know, a lot of the things that are just not good for the districts in 8 and 10, but out of the research that they sent, the number of liquor stores are mainly on the north side of town. We had an instance, and what really brought this up is that a lot of the residents were complaining about the liquor stores along the corridors in the districts, specifically 2 in District 10. There's one liquor store right on Sutil. I'm giving you an example. Right in front of Legend Center is one liquor store. You go down not even a block, there's another liquor store right there. Same on Moncrief, same on Gothair. And where these liquor stores are located, they're in low-income areas near apartment complexes where seniors live. And, you know, the residents are sick and tired of being sick and tired. When I looked at the list that was sent to me regarding the number of liquor stores within the past, was it 3 to 5 years, guess where they were? North side. And, you know, I'm not against small businesses, not at all, but we want the right kind of businesses to grow, and mainly on those corridors. The other thing is, you know, I've been working on the corridors since I've been here. We want small businesses. We don't want, you know, businesses 2 and 3 in the same area. Let's bring some other kind of businesses. And so I'm asking you all to support this. My colleague, I'll let him speak for himself, but same thing in his district. So I'm asking you all to please, please support us. You know, although, you know, 3,500, I wasn't agreeing at first, but I also realized I have to compromise in some of the areas. But I just want you all to know, I don't want this. My residents don't want it, and we want other type businesses in our area. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to Councilman Gaffney Jr., the co-introducer.
Thank you. Through the chair, you couldn't have said it better, Councilwoman Pittman. These liquor stores have pretty much diminished the quality of life for the North Side residents. Why I don't have as many liquor stores right beside each other. Your issues in your district affect my district. Typically, when you have incidents, it boils over to District 8. And the residents from District 8 give me a call and say, hey, Councilman Gaffney, what's going on in Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman district? So I'm all in on this bill. It's affecting the quality of life. It boils over. We have crime, we have incidents, we have fights. You know, you got Lionel C. Miller Park on Sunday, and you got individuals, they leave these parks and they go hang out at the liquor store. The liquor stores have become the new clubs. These liquor stores and these smoke shops. I mean, every time you turn up, it's a smoke shop and it's a liquor store, at least on the north side. And you know, like I said, you couldn't have said it even better. You know, as a matter of fact, I wish we could limit the amount of liquor stores per district. And like you said, and I'm not against businesses, I get it, but at the end of the day, it's killing individuals and it's diminishing the quality of life for the north side citizens of Jacksonville. So this won't solve all the issues. I know a lot of liquor stores are grandfathered already in, but this is a start of something new.
All right, thank you. Councilman Harris.
Thank you, Chair. To Ms. Pittman or Mr. Gaffney, whoever could answer this, but you guys are talking about liquor stores and now smoke shops. Obviously, this doesn't pertain to smoke shops, but what about the restaurants?
Well, as she said, this doesn't. And I'll let Ms. Ebony, because she has a little bit more information and done most of the work. Were you talking about the 3,500 in what he just asked, please?
Through the chair, so yes, the 3,500 feet will only apply to liquor stores. So this is the off-premises consumption of alcohol license that these facilities would get. It would not apply to restaurants serving full alcohol, and it wouldn't apply to bars serving full alcohol. It's just strictly the off-premises consumption.
Well, I asked because restaurants, if I'm not mistaken, they could sell off-premise liquor as well, too. So once again, what about restaurants? How will they be affected by this?
If they're serving off-premises consumption, it would fall within the distance limitation. But if it's a restaurant serving on-premises consumption, it would not apply. But the off-premises, yes.
Restaurants could sell off-premises, is my point. They can. So how will this affect them? And we're talking about, and I'm not even worried about the 3,500. Like for my liquor license for my restaurant, it was a church, distance as well too. Now you're going from 500 to 1,500. So I get the whole premise behind this is the liquor stores, but I feel that you're also going to affect restaurants. People wanting to open up restaurants, like you said, you want to have something else other than a liquor store there. So now you're also going to affect a restaurant by not being able to put a restaurant because of the distance from the churches.
So let me just say this to you. In our neighborhoods, where they're coming, where the package stores are coming, there are not many restaurants that are coming in that area. So it doesn't affect the restaurants in the area. I can probably name the restaurants on one hand.
Yeah, sorry, Ms. Pittman, but you're talking about your neighborhood. This, if I'm not mistaken, will be a blanket for all of Jacksonville. So it's going to affect my neighborhood, his neighborhood. So that's what I'm asking. What about the restaurants? Not just in your districts.
Well, again, I did this mainly, but we had to do it for the whole neighborhood, for the whole community. So I don't know if you have a recommendation or Ms. Abney, if you'd like to.
Councilman Gaffney wants to weigh in.
Yeah,
He's got something.
Thank you, through the chair. So I think restaurants will be able to sell alcohol off premises. I think they just have to file an exception, correct, Aaron? The restaurants. So if they want to sell alcohol off premises, they just need to file an exception. Then we could approve it here. So they could still sell alcohol. It just have to come before us, correct?
With this change, if in CCG2, the off-premises consumption of alcohol will need a zoning exception, which they can apply for, and it'll come through LUZ. And then if there is a church or school, or if the 3,500 feet passes, then you can apply for a waiver of liquor distance, which would go to the Planning Commission.
So we're not, thank you for that. So we're not banning it. We just putting more, some guardrails around it. So if a restaurant still want to, let's just say if a restaurant want to go beside a liquor store, and this restaurant want to sell liquor right beside this liquor store. What we is not saying you can't have liquor in this restaurant. What we is saying, come before the district councilman and get approval, or come before this committee and get approval and get an exception before you just start selling alcohol.
Okay, and I'm going to finish with this point. While that, I hear you guys loud and clear, and obviously what you guys are doing is because of the need in your district to help mitigate all that. The same applies. If a liquor store is wanting to put a liquor store in your districts and they need an exception, a waiver of exception, we could also deny it here too. So, I mean, I'll support it because obviously there's a need. And as long as my restaurants community throughout all of Jacksonville, as long as they have to come through us and we could still support their growth, then I'm okay with that. So, yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. And I would just say, you know, I think the both of us were looking at what we've gone through for the past, I know for me, the terms that I've been in, right? And I know when his father was in, same thing. I mean, most of these liquor stores got built next to either schools or churches. And 500 feet, I mean, the distance means a lot as well, because now you have a larger distance that keep them from building or posting up, you know, right next to a school or right next to a church.
Councilman Johnson.
I wanted to look, I was trying to research while we were doing this issue, and I looked at it when it had initially come up. And I just want to put some context into it. While I certainly understand my colleague, Councilman Harris's reticence with wanting to do this, it kind of led me down the rabbit hole of the requirements for selling to-go alcohol from restaurants. And so this specifically speaks to the off-premise consumption spaces, and I'm having an issue with one in my district right now, at least my community is. But it's according to this, it has to be, the establishment has to have at least 51% of the revenue from the sale of food. There's a food purchase requirement, so they can't come in. Based on the law, no one can come in and buy alcohol. They have to have alcohol with that same food order. The packaging must be sealed in sealed containers to prevent any kinds of consumption. And I can go on, even the time restrictions. There's a time restrictions. You cannot sell after midnight at these restaurants. There's a whole list of these restrictions that come about. So as such, it seems as though this is not going to hurt restaurants based on what I see, and it would be specifically for these kind of stores that are off-premise consumption fully and won't touch those distance requirements, because it would mean that it would have to be, if I'm not mistaken, based on what I've read this legislation to be, is specifically only for those people that are doing off-premise consumption only. Because according to this, you have to have food with it, and as such, those facilities, according to this research that I've just done quickly, are not selling a bottle of, and I won't give a name, but a bottle of something. The research that's done, the things that are purchased, this law was put in place for COVID. So as if you want to go and get a margarita while you're there, you can get the margarita. It just has to be sealed and it's in a cup. So it's not a bottle, which is different than those off-premise consumption stores that they have. So that's why I don't think it's going to, and I could be wrong. So for this, I'm going to support it. I think it's important. It looks like this is something that I know, I've heard the community complain about quite often when it comes to package stores, but I'm certainly open to hearing any additional details if they're there. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Harris wanted to respond.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. And Mr. Johnson, yeah, I agree with you. But that's the thing. All restaurants, their license, there's two types of licenses for restaurants, 2 COP, 4 COP, beer and wine, and 4 COP is beer, wine, and liquor. Both those licenses are 5149, regardless. So what you stated is true, but that's even if you're consuming in the restaurant or out the restaurant. To have a packaged sealed margarita, yes, but you could also sell packaged beer, for example, or pre-packaged wine. And in order for anybody to buy that from my restaurant, whether you're sitting there or not, you still have to consume 5149. But the 5149 also doesn't apply to you could go to my restaurant and just buy a beer and call it a day. as long as my total sales are 5149 throughout the day and throughout the month and throughout the year. That's the mandate that we need to adhere to for. So so we'll either way, it's 5149, and I'll look at that into that some more. But at the end of the day, I think we're off to a good start here with this. As long as people get a waiver from that, and they'll come to council for that. But all restaurant licenses are 5149. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not to belabor this, but it's an important issue. And as the owner of the largest tiki bar in Florida, I suddenly have an opinion about this. No, since I've been, it's not in Duval, so it doesn't affect us. Since I've been on council, Councilman Pittman and Councilman Gaffney and his father have been trying to do something about package stores. I've heard it like so many times. There have been all these efforts to do it. So there's clearly an issue, right? And Zach, can I bring Zach Miller down? Zach and I have talked about this in the past, and he had some good ideas on how to get at this issue, which also doesn't blow up issues in the rest of the county. And really, they had to do with the size of the store. And so, through the chair, if I may, Mr. Miller, name and address, all the rest, and then tell us your quick thought, if you don't mind.
Sure. Zach Miller, 3203 Old Barn Court. I have no dog in this fight. Don't represent any current bar owners, package stores, anything like that. I'm sorry? In Duval, that's true. A couple points, because I've been to numerous community meetings and with Councilman Pittman, who does a great job representing him. I usually get run out on a rail at these. And with Councilman Gaffney, the same thing. And you hear the people say that these aren't productive to the community. They're not productive to the community. This is not helping the community. This is not energizing the community. And what I've seen is that the problematic liquor stores, the problematic package stores, are usually very small in size. They're usually very standalone. And the reason is that businesses can come in and have a very large inventory, and it doesn't take very much to maintain the business. A bottle of vodka will sit on the shelf for quite some time. Whereas the larger sized ones don't seem to be problematic for anybody. You think of ones at Town Center, you think of ones at the beach, you think of ones on Beach Boulevard, things like that. They're usually surrounded by large developments. You think about the ones that are coming in near Winn-Dixie or Publix, where they're literally attached to it. And then to Councilman Arias' point, I've represented restaurant owners that, yes, they have on-premises consumption, but they have an off-premises licensed facility that is literally separated by a doorway on the side. And my concern is that this legislation might make that more difficult for them to have that. I think this is all a really good point. I think it's a great starting point, but I think if you're trying to prevent some of these in certain neighborhoods where they're just popping up, these are small 5,000 to 6,000 square foot facilities, there's a way in the code to differentiate in size to regulate these, and you don't end up making it more difficult for businesses that are trying to do this the right way to open up.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Through the chair to my colleagues, if that seems like an interesting solution where we're getting to the issue, because I think it's real, and I'm here to support. I'll support it, whatever you all end up coming up with. But maybe we do one lap on this and see if we can't get Zach's language on the size of the facility, and then this issue with the door and the separate, takeaway. I don't know if that works for Councilman Arias, but I think that would get us further down the road, further than, because every time we try to do this, something happens and it just blows up. So if you want to get out across the finish line, I think that may be a sensible solution, and we'll see if, by having that new language in the bill, whether or not other folks come up and say, no, here's why that doesn't work either. And it would give us a chance to figure it out. So anyways, that's just my 2 cents. If anybody else has questions for Zach, I'm sure he wouldn't mind answering them.
All right. I have a few questions, I guess, maybe for the planning department. Just hearing the conversation with Dr. Johnson and Councilmember Arias, I want to just kind of put it in simple terms. So if I go to an Applebee's, am I allowed to buy an alcoholic beverage that they can seal up and take it with me? Based on that description, to an Applebee's.
So if it's on-premises consumption with a restaurant, the distance limitation is 500 feet. If there's the sale for off-premises consumption, with this change, it would increase that distance from 500 feet to match the on-premises to 1,500 feet. So we would review it for that portion.
Okay, so I'm using an example of Applebee's because everyone knows that's a restaurant that serves alcohol. Do they need a special designation to be able to allow me to take a sealed margarita with me? it has to be a separate thing? Yes. Okay. So by that rationale, all the town center restaurants, everything there, that they wouldn't be effective because they're not licensed or whatever the terminology is to be able to take an off-premise drink with them.
Correct.
All right. I got two smart guys over there nodding at me, but what Councilman Johnson read to us basically said any restaurant can let you take a drink home, and that's what the restaurant owner is saying as well. So I'm just confused, and I'm sorry to stir up the hornet's nest, but I think we should flesh that out before we vote on something. Dr. Johnson?
Based on Senate Bill 148, which was enacted July 1st, 2021, which has to do with COVID, that allowed restaurants to give this off-premise experience to people who are coming. It was put in case by the Florida Senate, by the Florida legislature, based on COVID. You can go in, any restaurant can do this. So let me ask this question. Through the chair, Councilwoman Pittman, would you be okay with an amendment to exclude restaurants? Because I think this is more for liquor stores specifically. If I introduce that amendment, would that be amenable to you?
As I said earlier, I'm not trying to hurt business, but what I am trying to do is bring the attention to what the residents want. And my particular areas, what I'm interested in is that we don't have a whole lot of restaurants that sell food and alcohol, the areas that we're talking about. So I'd like to maybe ask my colleague, I don't have a problem with that. If there's an amendment to what we already have in place, I'll let him answer that question before we go down the road or to the finish line.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Since I appreciate it, through the chair, Councilman Gaffney, do you have a problem with that exclusion?
Through the chair, actually, I do have a problem. No, I'm kidding. No.
Really? That's how we gonna do this?
No, that's okay. We're talking about liquor stores, so I'm okay with restaurants being excluded.
Okay, so I'd like to, Mr. Chair, I move that we exclude restaurants based on this definition of restaurants under 148, that we exclude restaurants from this specific act, that it focuses just on liquor stores, off-premise stores, period.
All right, we have a motion and a second on that amendment. You have it, Mr. Rangel?
So the amendment was to exclude restaurants from the regulations. Now, I'm just going to ask a clarification question, if I may, through the chair to the maker of the motion. So we deal with off-premises consumption in 3 different ways in this bill, and I want to make sure whether you want it to apply to all 3 sections. So one is that off-premises consumption will move from in CCG2 from permitted by right to permitted by exception. There is a section that increases the distance between a church and school and the off-premises consumption from 500 feet to 1,500 feet. And then there is a provision that says there needs to be 3,500 feet between 2 liquor license locations. Is the exclusion for restaurants applied to all 3 or just 1, 2, or 3?
I believe, based on what you just said, and I'm looking it up now, that when we talk about the restaurant exclusion, that it's specifically for instance 1. I believe that, but because I don't think it applies, I don't think it's the same applicable to the other instances. Can you give me a bit deeper understanding so I make sure I'm on the same page with you there?
Well, I just want to make sure there's a provision in the bill that says a totally new regulation that there'll be no less than 3,500 feet between 2 liquor license locations that have been approved for off-premises consumption for all alcoholic beverages. So I was wondering if that's one that we just need to clarify. No, it's 3,500 feet between basically essentially 2 standalone liquor stores.
The latter, through the chair.
But I don't need to necessarily go insert this restaurant exception into 656-805 subsection B, nor into the CCG2 portion of the bill.
I don't think it's applicable from what I read.
Right. I mean, to the chair, I'm concerned about the package stores and the liquor stores. That's what I'm concerned about. The restaurants, I mean, we understand that restaurants sell liquor and food. I think we can exclude that. Colleague, are you good with that? All right, thank you.
All right, so that is the amendment. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendment, oh, I'm sorry, we still on the amendment? Sorry, well, the amendment passed, but Ken Amaro is actually next. Mr. Amaro and then Mr. Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm supporting the amendment. I'm supporting the legislation. I just want some clarity from the planning department as the definition of off-premises sale with restaurants. Mr. Miller gave a little picture a second ago. The days of Jack's Liquors when you can drive up and get your cup and go, those are gone.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
Those are gone. So I'm just curious about the true definition of off-premise alcohol sales associated with restaurants. Not package stores, restaurants.
Through the chair to Councilman Amaro. So just to clarify, in CCG2, it calls out separately that restaurants, which include the retail sales and service of all alcoholic beverages, including liquor, beer, and wine, for on-premises consumption is allowed by right. So this would not be changing that. They're still allowed by right. This would simply be taking the use that's listed out as an establishment or facility, which includes the retail sales and service of all alcoholic beverages, including liquor, beer, and wine for off-premises consumption, and would be moving it to by zoning exception. Restaurants that serve alcohol versus selling it for off-premises consumption, I believe, is regulated by the type of license that they receive. So a 4COP SFS license allows them to sell alcohol on site, and 51% of the sales has to be derived from food, and may not operate as a package store. So it clearly states that in the license that they receive. If they received a 4COP quota license, then it could be, they could sell off sales without the need of, there's no food requirement if it's a 4COP quota license. So when we look at liquor licenses that come in from the state, they have to clarify what type of license they're receiving, and if it says SFS, then we know it's a restaurant, and the distance limitation would be 500 feet.
One more question through the chair. Given the chair's scenario of that particular entity he mentioned earlier, if I were to go in, order the particular beer, take it off the bar, and walk out the door, is that an off-premise sale? And if they have a 4COP, that's okay? I'm just trying to get some clarity here.
If the license is a 4COP SFS license for the restaurant, then it would not be included within that distance limitation.
But that would be considered an off-premise sale.
You see the confusion, right? The state law says that any restaurant can let you take something if it's sealed, and that by definition makes it an off-premise sale. So that's what we're trying to avoid, putting the stipulations on all restaurants in the county. So does the amendment fix that we just passed?
If the amendment clarifies that restaurants would not be included in that, then yes, from our interpretation, we would not include restaurants that have off-premises. It would strictly be package stores.
All right. Councilman Diamond. Sorry, I was trigger happy on the amendment, sir.
No, all good. I just wanted to get clarity. It's almost on the same point. It's just there's a state definition of restaurant. There's a Duval definition of restaurant. I just want to make sure we've harmonized these things so that we don't create a messy bill. Like, I just want to Frankenstein that nobody knows how to implement after the fact. All things I learned in the last 10 days.
All right, Councilman Arias.
Thank you, Chair. All right. So, crash course, very quick. You guys go to Three Forks with Chris, you buy a bottle of wine. You package it, you leave. That is consumption off premises. Any restaurant could do this. Even if you have a beer and wine license, you don't have to have a liquor license. Any restaurant can do this right now as it is. Very simple example. Restaurant licenses are normally with a COP attachment to it, 2 COP, 4 COP. All right? Retailers like grocery stores and like liquor stores, they do package sales. This is the issue you're having, package sale. Those are normally assigned to a PS license, like a 3PS. So if we want to have the language in the legislation to omit restaurants, which also include bars, by the way, bars are also part of the COP status, then I think we should change it to Mr. Councilmember Johnson's amendment. Instead of saying the word restaurants, let's just say omitting COP designation licenses. And that kind of covers all that. 2 COPs, 4 COPs, restaurants, bars, and it will only affect packaged retailers such as liquor stores and grocery stores. Grocery stores, by the way, also will be affected by this too, just like a Winn-Dixie and a Publix, FYI, because that's part of the PS designation. Thank you.
All right, I have Dr. Johnson in queue and then Mr. Reingold.
Well, this was going to be a question to Mr. Reingold or Mr. Populus or whomever. That do we need to change the amendment? Do we need to amend the amendment to put in the COP designation, or would it be most advisable to put in another amendment? Where would we go to go? Because Councilman Arias brings up a very unique point that we don't want to make, and Councilman Diamond, you don't want to make the Franken bill, which is what it seems like we're doing, the Frankenstein bill. Yeah. Not Al Franken.
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson. So I know there's a fear of the Frankenstein bill, and I'm just reading through the code very quickly, for instance, in this one section, and I share the committee's concern. I do not want to get in a place where, for instance, 656.805 subsection E, which now is a distance limitation between off-premises consumption places, which reads similarly to subsection B, but are supposed to be interpreted differently, but have similar language. And I'm going through here and I'm trying to correct this. I mean, if we want to give, I'm just letting the board know, I'm just struggling with making sure we don't end up with inconsistencies within this section that cause things that we don't want to happen. I'm hearing from the committee, we want the distance limitations to not apply to restaurants.
That's kind of what the amendment said. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I do want to clarify something, because right now you're going to have not less than 1,500 feet from an established church or school from a place that's an off-premises consumption of alcoholic beverages. You also don't want that to apply to restaurants, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So B should be amended as well as E to address that issue.
In order to do that, we need to amend the amendment. Your recommendation is to amend the amendment through the chair, to B and E to also exclude restaurants. Am I correct in that understanding?
You're the maker. I assume that's what you mean.
If I wish to do what you just said, the correct thing to do would be to amend B and E to also include the restaurant exclusion.
Yes.
Thank you. So
Is that your motion?
Yes. I move to amend the amendment to include B and E to include the restaurant exclusion.
All right, I've got a motion and a second on the amendment to the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The amendment to the amendment is passed. No one else is in the queue. Do I have a motion on the bill as amended? We passed an amendment and then we just amended the amendment.
So I don't think we passed the amendment second. We ended up getting in a large discussion.
We did. I rushed through it.
Okay. Then we had that. So there was a second amendment then to do B. Well, no. We are. If the issue is that we adopted the amendment already, then there was a second amendment, and we will roll those two amendments together.
Correct.
Okay.
Chair. Yes.
Perfect.
Roll them up. No one else is in the queue. I have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. I'm going to support it because I want to support the work that Councilwoman Pittman and Councilwoman Gaffney are doing to help their communities. Councilman Diamond?
Mr. Chair, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I do think we need another 2 weeks to get this cleaned up because it's messy, and I think it'll pass. I'm not trying to slow you down. I promise. I swear I'm not. I'm supporting. Look, we can go ahead and just do it, but then there's just going to be a fixed bill coming because we're making mistakes. I mean, we're making mistakes. So we could do 2 weeks and do it later. But if you just want to keep going, that's fine. I'm just putting my 2 cents out there.
I will leave that up to the introducers.
I'd rather do it now. I mean, we have our folks from OGC who can put it together.
You know, let's go ahead and knock it out.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to do it now.
All right. No one else in the queue. Open the ballot, record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0255. There's another Pittman bill here. Might as well go for that. Also, I have, my little nieces out there that need to leave. One of them graduated kindergarten yesterday. Say hi to Reagan, who just graduated kindergarten yesterday. Hey, Reagan. And her pretty sister Stella is here as well. Yes. So, the other bill is 11, 2025-0212. That's on page 6, 2025-0212. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you may have. Councilman Gaffney Jr.
Yes, through the chair, I rise to declare ex parte. I spoke with Mr. Josh Cockrell last week. He reached out to discuss this bill and asked me did I have any questions. I make sure everything get filed with legislative services.
All right, Councilman Arias.
Thank you, Chair. I also rise to declare ex parte. Mr. Cockrell called me and texted me asking if I had any questions, and it's being filed as we speak. Thank you.
Councilman Amaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rise to declare ex parte. Mr. Cockrell called me as well. Wanted to know if I had any questions. Information will be filed with legislative services.
Councilmember Carlucci.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to declare the same ex parte for this. I spoke to Josh Cockrell. He asked if I had any questions, and this paperwork will be filed with legislative services.
All right, I also have ex parte. I received 2 phone calls from Mr. Cockrell, one after his community meeting to go over everything that was spoken and discussed at the community meeting, and then a follow-up call prior to this vote to ask me if I had any further questions about the legislation. And we'll get that updated and filed with legislative services. No one else, so let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0212, which seeks to rezone approximately a half acre of land from CCG1 to a PUD. The rezoning is being sought to allow for the use of outside storage and parking of semi-tractors, but not the trailers on the subject property. The commercial category of CCG1 allows for lower intense commercial uses with no outside storage allowed. In order to permit outside storage, a property would need to seek a rezoning to CCG2 with a zoning exception or industrial light zoning category to allow for the use by right. The PUD would therefore allow CCG1 uses, including the outside storage and parking of semi-tractors by right. Staff has reviewed the request, and while the proposed uses are allowed within the existing land use category of CGC, we find the request does not further the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. Compatibility and intensity of uses is accomplished through appropriate zoning and is an important consideration to the welfare and sustainability of an area. This is especially important to a predominantly single-family residential area when a new commercial use is being introduced, as is being proposed within this PUD. Goals of the comp plan are to ensure that the character and location of land uses optimize the combined potential of economic benefits and enjoyment, while minimizing the threat to health, safety, and welfare that's posed by hazards, nuisances, and incompatible land uses and environmental degradation. The department has concerns with the application proposing to add the use of semi-tractor storage in a low-intense commercial area with nearby residential. The presence of such an intense commercial use along Sutel Drive would not ensure that the character and location of land uses optimizes the qualities listed in Goal 1 of the comprehensive plan. While the land use is appropriate to allow for these commercial uses, it is up to the zoning to restrict those uses to be compatible with the existing surrounding developments. The subject property is located along Sutel Drive, which is classified as a collector roadway, with this section being developed with some retail uses, but mostly single-family subdivisions and nearby churches. The proposed project, per the revised site plan that's dated April 7th, did indicate that the property would provide a 10-foot landscape buffer along all property boundaries and will also include an 8-foot tall fence adjacent to the existing single-family dwellings to the north and 6-foot tall fence along the western and eastern property boundaries and along the Sutel right-of-way. Landscaping will be provided in compliance with Part 12 of the zoning code. Again, we have concerns about allowing for more intense commercial uses, including the truck storage, on a parcel located in a low-intense commercial area and residential uses to the north. So therefore, we're recommending denial. The application was heard by Planning Commission on April 17th, where there was one speaker in opposition citing concerns for the outside storage use in close proximity to residential. There were also several speakers in support of the rezoning and the property owners who felt that the locally owned business will bring employment opportunities to the area and help the community grow in a positive way. The commission had questions about the intended landscaping buffers and planning, especially along the northern buffer adjacent to the existing single-family residential. The commission felt that the proposed buffers and the landscaping that's being proposed would be appropriate for the area, and they voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you. I have some speaker cards. We'll start with the applicant, Mr. Josh Cockrell. I'll give you 5, but all the other cards are in support.
Thank you. Josh Cockrell, 200 North Lahr Street. Mr. Chairman, fellow council members, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you today. And also, I want to thank Stella and Ray of the Stella Ray Group being here as well today. So they're actually interning with me for a little while this summer now that they're out of school. I've had the pleasure of actually working with this client, Mr. Dale Fisher, on this project for several months now. This is taking an existing CCG1 use as a vacant piece of land that is adjacent to a church to the east, and I provided a site plan, or not site plan, but an aerial view for you to see. There's a church across the street. It's a 4-lane highway, and while we do recognize the planning department's recommendation, some things that I wanted to point out to you. And addressing this is a business owner. He's here today. He's going to speak to you, who grew up in this community. He's very familiar with this community. He left this community, started his business, and he's doing the one thing that oftentimes I've heard, and even at the town hall meeting that we attended in Councilmember Pittman's district, he's doing the one thing that many folks in this community don't do, that start businesses. He's returning. He's returning back to this community, and he wants to bring his business back. Of all places he can take his business, he's bringing it back to the community he grew up in. There's a lot to be said about that. Here he has several semi-cabs that leave in the morning, and they return back around 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the afternoon, and he can tell you a little bit more about that, in which they will be parking. Jobs that he'll tell you start, if I'm not mistaken, at $800 a week to $1,200+ a week. Jobs that are providing to the community itself, and he's going to highlight some of this. What's incredible about this CCG1 parcel here is, we've experienced, and you heard just a moment ago from Councilwoman Pittman, uses that CCG1 does allow, unfortunately, that are less desirable in her community, in Councilmember Gaffney's community. Uses that I know, for example, that probably are not desirable adjacent to a church. PUDs are supposed to benefit the community and make them more beneficial to the community when they're utilized. And what we've done here, utilizing this PUD, and the only way to succeed in providing a place zoning that would allow for the parking of the cab and rather than the trailer, which the only option I can see here would be CCG2, with an exception, which you all know how intense CCG2 is to go PUD. And by taking this to a PUD, I've removed the less desirable uses. Some of those uses that may include the sale of liquor and other items here. We've taken those out and diluted the CCG1, if you will, so that it is more compatible with this community and some of the concerns that you've heard even today prior to this bill. We've had a town hall meeting in Councilwoman's district. We heard overwhelming support. Of all issues that I've come before you over the last 6 years of doing land use zoning work, I have never seen resounding support in a community. I've seen lots of opposition come before you, but never resounding support. More than 172 letters of support have come throughout this district alone. And what I provided you is a map. I just zoomed in a little bit of the letters of support that have come in just around this parcel alone. You'll see the neighbors behind it alone have resoundingly supported this. And you'll see the red dot indicating the parcel itself. Directly to the west, we have a CCG1 parcel and a commercial area in this 4-lane area, as I mentioned, at Norfolk and Sutel. You'll see two semis parked there on this commercial parcel to show you that semis are up and down this with trailers already visiting this area. And there's a church that is immediately adjacent to that. So CCG1 next to a church and semis is not abnormal for this area. It's actually keeping in character with this area. I want to highlight a few more things to you that we're doing. We're already proposing an 8-foot fence in the rear. I know in the planning report, it does state that talking about the 10-foot uncomplimentary landscape buffer. In CCG1, I can put a 10-foot buffer there in CCG1 as it is. And when you add in the parking itself of the trucks, I'm putting a building there to separate the property line itself from the parking. There's 40 feet there separating it already from the neighborhood, the resident in the back, and the residents in the back that actually do support this project. So we're talking about 40 feet alone. That's already having a 10-foot buffer between the building and the building itself. So you're talking about 40-foot difference, along with the fencing that we're putting 8 feet in the back, 6 feet on the remaining perimeter. We have a building also blocking any noise. Again, just highlighting a few of the pros of this. We haven't had any issues. The only, we've had a,
Thank you,
I may
Mr.
continue real
Cockrell.
quick.
No, 5 minutes was plenty, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, Dale Fisher, followed by Trina Fisher.
All right, how you guys doing? All right, I'm Dale Fisher. I own the company of DDT and L Incorporated. Along with my son.
State your address.
Say it again.
Can you state your address?
Oh, my address is 3161 Cine Oaks Drive, Jacksonville, Florida, 32226.
Keep going.
Okay. Like I was saying, I own a company. My trucking company is DDT and L Incorporated. Along with my son, his company name is DTFII. That represents my name, Dale, Trina, Lauren, and my son is Dale TF. That's his middle name. But anyway, I've been in business for over 20 years. Okay, I have a total of 6 trucks. My son has a total of 2. I plan on reinvesting into my community, which I was born and raised in all of my life. I have my mother back there. My mother and father still lives in Sherwood. Okay. I attended Ribault Senior High School, graduated, went off into the Navy, called off in the Persian Gulf War. I'm a hospital corpsman. I believe in community service. I plan on doing a lot of service into the community. I'm with 100 Black Men of Jacksonville. I'm with the ILA 1408 Longshoreman Hall. I'm a longshoreman. I'm in American Legion because I was a corpsman in the Navy. I believe in providing service for the community. I plan on establishing a scholarship for the students at Ribault. and Rains, because that is in my community, to help them along with school books, school supplies. Also for students going to trade
I'm
school.
going to pause you real quick. Stop the clock. Stop the clock. Beautiful resume. Love what you're doing in the community. For the next minute, if you could focus on the rezoning itself and why you think that's a good idea, then we'd be glad to.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Well, for one, I plan on providing jobs. Those jobs are going to be paying from $800 to $1,500 every week. It's according to the qualifications that they have a CDL Class A. I plan on providing, monies for vendors coming in, such as a welder. He's right down the street. We have the truck wash for Joe Reed Truck Shop right down the street. I plan on keeping that money in the community, revolving around the community, going to restaurants and to the grocery stores or whatsoever. Other than that, I just really would want your support so I can provide that service to my community. The community that I grew up in, the community that my mother lives in, my father lives in. I love that community, and that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next, we have Trina Fisher, followed by Dale Fisher II. And Dale, if you could move your way down front a little bit since you're up next.
Hello, good evening. I'm Trina Fisher, 3161 Scenic Oaks Drive. I'm Dale's wife and Dale's mother. So we are really in support, and we want your support in this rezoning effort. Not only is it there for us, but it's there for the community. Security, that's something that we also want to make sure that we invest in. In that parcel of land, we want to make sure it's safe for our neighbors. We talked to our neighbors, and they said that's something that they're interested in. Like Dale spoke about, he also spoke about having a scholarship fund. So that's a way to reinvest in the community as well. We want to do trade school as well as college. So it's different things that we want to have in the community, that this parcel of property, changing it over to PUD, how it will help. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Reingold was just about to be the bad guy here. I saw him looking at me. All right. Mr. Dale Fisher II, followed by Barbara Fisher.
Hey, good evening. I want to say that we want to establish our own official business headquarters. We do good in the community. We do great work. We want to be able to provide jobs to people that want to start driving trucks. We want to, as far as our property, we want to take pride in professionalism. We want to take pride in cleanliness as well too. So for what we do with it, we're here for the long run. We don't want to go anywhere. So we want to be able to have some type of economic boom in our community, and I think it needs that. It's not that many jobs on that side of town, and I think that's anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a week. That's pretty good money for anybody out. So we just want to do right by the community. We want to, we want to be able to expand. By the way, also, I'm the co-owner. My dad is the head person in charge. I think we have an American dream, and we want to be able to pass that dream on other people as well too. And by us being able to have the property, I think that's a stepping stone where we're going to start from. And I see such a bigger dream that's in the works. And if you guys give us the opportunity to do that, we can be able to make change happen in the community, to make change as far as income, as far as just the thought of a trade of having trucks. We don't want to have the trailers on the property. We only want to have trucks. So we want to make sure everything looks good. We don't want to have it out here raggedy. So we take pride in professionalism. My dad's been doing it 20 years. I've been doing it 4 years now. So we want to be able to pass that knowledge on to other people and, spread the word on the people and say that we're for change. And we want to give people hope in the community. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have Barbara Fisher. Family affair here today.
Yes, I'm Barbara Fisher. I am a crossing guard in the area. I'm very service-oriented. I'm grandma in the area for all the children. I live at 4801 Arrowsmith Road, and I'm supporting my son and his wife in this business because I know they have done nothing but make me proud of them and do everything they can to do positive things in the area. I am angry that the boards do not recognize that in my area, it's about visionary. We are sick and tired of trailers, empty lots, weeds, ditches. Nobody comes there to do it right. Well, it is our intention to set an example for the others in the community. We are not going to get J.C. Penney's. We are not going to get IHOP and those type businesses. But we got to be open to letting something else come and start some kind of tradition. I am sick and tired of driving up Norfolk Boulevard, and I got to feel threatened because guys are just standing around on an empty lot and the city property doing nothing. I have to tell them, get out of my car, I'm not going around, move. I want positive in my community. I'm sick of all the negative. Trailers all up and down Sutel. Nobody's doing anything about it. They're just there. People are buying lots, and they're just sitting there waiting on a date for somebody to come and buy it for more. We need growth, and we need positive growth. I'm saying this not to be angry, but I'm saying I'm darn mad. I plead for you. Please help us in the community so we can grow, set examples for the young men that they can do the same thing, and I need your help. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I have one more card left, which checked that they were just here for questions and wish not to speak, but they are in support, and that is James Hawkins. All right, those are all the cards. We'll go to committee members for questions. Before we close the public hearing, Councilmember Gaffney Jr.
Thank you, through the chair. A few questions. I know Aaron, the planning department, you guys denied this bill. You guys said it wasn't compatible with the surrounding area, correct?
Through the chair to Councilman Gaffney, yes. So when we reviewed the request for the proposed use of outside storage and looking at what is existing around there, we did not find it consistent and compatible with the existing development pattern for this particular section of Sutil.
Okay. Under the current zoning code, what is permitted now?
The property is currently zoned CCG1, which would allow for a wide variety of commercial uses, but CCG1 specifically does not allow outside storage. In order to do that use, you would have to rezone to either CCG2 and seek a zoning exception, or you'd have to go to industrial category, which would allow outdoor storage by right.
And that's what we're doing today, right? Correct.
You are seeking a PUD, which under the comprehensive plan existing land use category of CGC does allow outside storage. So the only way to do outside storage by right would be to do PUD with CCG, with the CGC land use.
All right, Mr. Cocker, if you could come up right quick. A few questions. You guys shared that you had a community meeting through the chair, that y'all had a community meeting, and I think you stated that majority of the individuals that was there supported this, I guess, legislation. You stated that, correct?
Yes, sir. We had resounding support throughout the community.
Okay. Was it any opposed, any constituents was against this legislation? If so, what was the reservations?
I don't recall any, but I would turn to Councilwoman Pittman, who held the meeting, see if she had any comments on that.
We actually, matter of fact, we had a meeting before the meeting. So the prior month, I knew that they were coming. And so we actually had the company come and do a meeting at the Legend Center. So I support asking you all to consider supporting. I think it brings jobs in terms of the renderings that they brought. I'm big on visualization and landscaping and lighting. So it hasn't been anything in this community for several years. There has been other companies that would just put their trucks on vacant land. We don't want that. This will set the precedence of what's supposed to be done. And so the residents, when they came to the meeting, they're familiar with the family, and they want to be in the community.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll be brief. Well, I already asked 2 questions, so I'll ask one more question so we can get out of here. I know we've been here a long time. If I did decide to vote on this tonight, which I think I will, my only concern is the buffers, which I think you guys have addressed. And I think it just needs to be, I guess, beautified. I don't know if that's a word. The aesthetics of it. You know, this is in a residential area. So let's just not having, you know, like some of these truck stops and things, they just have broken down trucks in the yard. Not to say that Mr. Fisher go do this. He seemed like he's a man of integrity. So I just make sure the buffers and the trees is just well kept, needed, it's lighted. It's not just like an eyesore just standing out in this neighborhood community. You know, I would hate to 3 or 4 years from now, 2 years from now, we get calls and say, you know, we supported this and now, look, you got broken down trucks, they fixing on trucks, tires at the end of the road. That's my only concern, you know. So, but as long as the buffers are taken care of, it's lighted, it's well manicured, you know, and I guess, you know, as in terms of the competential substantial evidence, you know, I think you said 171.
More than 172 neighbors have written letters of support within the district.
Yeah, so, I mean, it seemed like the councilwoman support this, the neighbors support this. Like I said, my biggest thing is just the aesthetics part of it, but I'll be moving forward with this tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The entire committee is basically in the queue, so I'm not going to put you on the clock, but we've been here for 90 minutes. We're on our 3rd bill. Let's keep it concise and stick to the merits of the bills. Please, Ken Amaro, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quick question. I'm going to support the council, the district council person, but for Mr. Cockrell, I'm curious about capacity. I commend Mr. Fisher for wanting to give back to the community, and he mentioned 8 trucks, basically. What's the capacity? What do you envision? Is it going to end up being 100 trucks, 20 trucks, 10 trucks? So I'm curious about capacity.
I'm going to ask my client, because I know we designed the site plan. I'm going to ask him. Step up real quick.
Well, Mr. Ken, Councilman Ken, I do plan on growing. That's if anybody's in business, you do plan on growing. But for right now, we only have 8 trucks altogether. Don't get me wrong. I would love, when I retire, I would want my son to, you know, to expand and to keep growing, along with my newborn grandbaby. You know, she'll be the 5th generation. So like I said, I'm a 3rd. He's the 4th. And, you know, it's going to keep growing. And also, we want to, how can I say, we're going to go off into other things in the community. This is just the beginning, you know. So, you know, just like the trucks, we only have 8 trucks so far. Okay.
Councilman Arias.
Thank you, Chair. So if it wasn't for Ms. Pittman, I would not be supporting this right now. She is a district council member. She knows what's best for her district. But I'll just be very honest with you. If we're looking at the map, you're looking at CNs and CROs right next to it, next to RDL. CNs, they have as commercial neighborhoods. A limitation is storage shall be conducted within completely enclosed buildings, meaning these would have to be enclosed, the storage. CROs have limitations of no vehicles other than passenger automobiles or trucks, no more than 3/4 of a ton or 5,000 pounds. These trucks are going to well exceed 5,000 pounds. A 5,000-pound truck is essentially like an Escalade or a Tahoe. So, I'm not done. And then you're surrounded by actual neighbors, right? The neighbors that you have in this map. But I could easily do this map. Where are the letters of recommendation? I don't have those letters here. You're just showing me a map with pinpoints. This means nothing to me. So, and to convert it to PUD, opening it up to just whatever you guys want, that neighborhood deserves more than just a PUD slapped in the middle of residential and commercial neighborhoods there. So if it wasn't for Ms. Pittman here supporting this, I would definitely not support this. The letters, the public statement comment cards, I looked at the zip codes and the addresses, 25 to 30-minute drive from the actual location. They have no skin in the game aside from being the actual owners of the property. So of course they're gonna support it. The other two cards are 32208, which are also family members. Of course they're gonna support it. So right now as it is, you have shown me nothing to convince me to even support this.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
I'll direct to Ms. Pittman. Ms. Pittman.
I would just like to say that was my first comment to them when I talked to Mr. Josh about that. I said, when I look at those letters, there's nobody, it wasn't even 5 people. But what I did was invited the residents, the people who live in the community, and they were the ones that came to the meeting to support them. And so based on the renderings that I saw of how the site will look when they complete it, I was satisfied. The residents, y'all have to know my residents. They don't take nothing. They want what they want, and they will support what they want. So, I made a commitment to them, to whoever's coming into the district. We want to make sure that they meet with the residents first.
Thank you, Ms. Pittman. And through the chair, I'm not done yet. But I had something similar to this come to my district. All right. And while some residents, first of all, residents sometimes are not even in tune to what's going on, except the ones that are actually in tune, which is great. But I put a limitation as to how many trucks could actually go to that piece of property. Right now, the question was asked by Mr. Amaro is how many trucks are going to be there? The answer was, there was no answer. You need to protect your neighbors because it could go from 5 trucks to 30 trucks to 100 trucks. And that is going to just tear the streets up, create traffic, create just unwanted, just lingering, people just hanging out and just trash all over the place. So I'm just worried, and that's why I put my limitations on my district for that particular similar case. So I would definitely, like Mr. Gaffney said, let's talk about conditions and whatever the case is. This is time to do it. If we do a PUD, this will be the time. Personally, I wouldn't support this, but you want it, I'll support you. Thank you.
And I don't think the property is big enough to put 100 calves on there. So, you're talking about 8. And based on the renderings that I saw, it looks like no more than maybe 15 or 20. So.
Right. So next we have Jean Rebo's finest, Dr. Johnson.
And that's what I was going to say, Mr. Chair. It was so interesting that Councilman Gaffney said, I believe he's a man with integrity. I was like, he went to Rebo. What do you expect? Of course it's a man of integrity. Let me say this. I got to say this on the record first before I go into my comments. Competent, substantial evidence. I certainly appreciate I was watching when I was in the back trying to handle other business. I've been watching from here. We got to come here with facts and figures. Not it's beautiful and the community likes us and I want to build the district. I think that's wonderful. I'm going to be the one to say it. That's a great thing, and I admire you for that. Through the chair, forgive me for that. But we got to have documented evidence and competent, substantial evidence and facts and figures. I've told you, Mr. Cockrell, over and over again, I got to have data. That is what's going to help make the decision. I can't make a decision off of, I like everybody. I just like people. But that's not the charge I was given being on this committee. I got to have some data and evidence. So please, as you come forward, this is for everybody, let me know some numbers, some statistics. As Councilman Arias said, and Mr. Reingold said earlier, we can use the letters and those things that come about, but make sure that they're included and we got them so that we help us help you. It's a conundrum. I will tell you, I'm going to ask this question again. Councilman Amaro specifically asked, how many will it fit? Not many, how many do you have now? Do you know specifically? And if you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know, I'll get it.
The site plan, through the chairman, the site plan allows for, there's like 20 on the site plan.
That's how many
That's how many it's showing on the site plan currently is 20.
Okay, and you said that will be your cap for this, because I noticed we've been talking about trucks, but according to, just a moment, it says that there's truck parking, which includes semi-trailers, but it lists it separately as bus, semi-tractor, but not trailer, truck, and other commercial uses. So that's why I think that question came up. Yes, we know you have 8 now. Yes, we know you plan to grow, but I think that's a valid question.
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson, that is the language taken directly from CCG1's uses. And to go back to Councilmember Arias as well, and regarding that same statement, everything in this PUD, Councilmember Arias, is directly the language from CCG1.
Can you speak through the chair, please?
Through the chair, if you look directly to the east and to the west, that is all CCG1. I am adjacent to CCG1. There's nothing different. There's no CRO directly adjacent to us. CCG1 and all the uses in this PUD are all CCG1 uses. What I've done is I've taken out all the undesirable uses in this community that are in CCG1. So I've copied the language from CCG1, and that includes the buses, et cetera.
I certainly understand.
So that's where I'm kind of lost in the mix-up and the miscommunication here.
Well, but copying the language, and is it the language that's being used through the chair most intelligently? Just copying the language, which I've had to say to other members
Certainly.
who are lawyers on this particular, in this committee, that does not necessarily make it right. We want to make sure that we are putting the things in that we understand. So that's why what has caused, at least to me, some confusion. I understand it. I think it's a good idea. It looks like it's compatible, even though I do have a question.
I understand.
Let me get to my question. Based on where it's located, and I want to know if there's a condition opportunity because of what Councilman Arias brought up. Is there a way for us to put some kind of facade improvement? I did not see that based on what I saw.
We actually have a visual that we were told that we couldn't show because it was too large.
Yes.
Can we show that?
No, because that would violate the council rules. But if you want to send it so we can see it prior to the vote on council night, because that's a rule that there was a whole debate about it. So my apologies.
I got you.
Chair. We
okay,
cannot
so we
do
shared
that.
through the chair. We shared it during Planning Commission. We were able to provide it then, and we showed that there as well as a town hall. And I think that's
so. Let me ask you this verbally: will there be, and you can email it to Legislative Services. They'll make sure it gets to us. Will there be some kind of facade buffer? And if you could visually,
Yes.
in about 10, 15 seconds, explain what that is.
2 palm trees or maybe 3 palm trees.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Sorry about that.
And don't forget, we still need your name and
My name is Dale Fisher. My address is 3161 Scenic Oaks Drive, Jacksonville, Florida, 32226. All right. I plan on maybe 3 palm trees out front with, I wanted landscaping. I want, flowers out front. I want it to look nice. I want it to look presentable.
I get it. And Mr. Fisher, with all due respect, through the chair, I want it to look nice is not, that just doesn't gel. We got to have some specifics as to what's there. Let me finish, please, Mr. Cockrell. I want, if possible, and I think the councilwoman would agree with me, we're going to support this. We want to see business, but it's just got to be done right and in order. I think it's important. And the other thing I would recommend, if there was something that visually, rather than just a tree, my recommendation would be some kind of fencing that had that hid, and I don't want to say hide in a bad way, but something that protected the integrity of those houses in the area that we can see, like some kind of fence or, and those fences, you can have decorative things on the fences that are like a page fence, but if we could get some kind of specific plan as to what you could do to visually keep the integrity, because that's the reason to me, from my understanding, obviously there are those adjacent zoning categories, which is one of the reasons why, based on what I read in my staff report, why the planning department issued the denial. But I believe if there was something that showed the integrity of the neighborhood being kept from the work that you're doing, that it may be something that would be palatable to everyone.
We can do that.
Please, Mr. Cockrell, if you're open to that, I don't know whether that's something that we can add in here since it is a PUD, but is that something you're open to put some of those visual aesthetics there so that the community still maintains its integrity?
Yes. I'm willing to do whatever you need me to do.
I got you. And we want, again, I have to say, this is about evidence and specifics. We want the community to grow, but we have to grow responsibly. And through the chair, is that something, Mr. Reingold, do I need to ask for a condition now? Should we wait? What is your recommendation based on that and the fact that the developer has agreed to put some kind of visual barrier around the property?
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out which buttons to push. So currently, I will state in the PUD, it says the property shall be developed in accordance with Part 12 landscape regulations of the zoning code. The perimeter shall have a 6-foot fence with 100% opacity. That's in the written description. So to the extent there is additional landscaping that needs to be done above and beyond the Part 12 requirements and the 6-foot fence with 100% opacity, I am certainly willing to hear what that looks like and try to incorporate that into a condition if that is the will of the committee.
I am not sure that, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm kind of doing a little homework here on the dais, so forgive me for that, but the 6-foot fence with 100% opacity does not, in my understanding, protect the integrity of the neighborhood. So that's what I mean. Above and beyond that, this would be some additional visual, which obviously you would need time to go into it, look and see how much that would cost, work it through, and I hope that's something that the councilwoman and you would be amenable to, because while I think this is important, I also think the integrity of those zoning parcels around this particular parcel and those community members are important. So if we want to take some time and get back to us, and I mean, I'll certainly support this legislation based on all I see, but I think that's an important piece of it that may change things for me on Tuesday night.
Should we propose a condition, or are we just moving on? You're working. You're going to let them?
Is there you said you would. It really is. So, I'll reach out and hopefully you can send it back and we'll see. I just think right now this probably wasn't ready at this point, but, I'll reach out to them individually and I'll ex parte it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Carlucci.
I'll keep it quick. You can put time limit on me if you want. I mean, ultimately, I'll defer to the district councilwoman, but I think it's a mistake, if I'm just being honest. You're basically jumping 2 zoning codes. This is allowed by exception in CCG2, is that correct? So whether it's a PUD, whether it's not a PUD, whatever, you're kind of jumping quite ahead. The roads are going to have a lot of wear and tear on it from these tractors. I don't know if they're going to have trailers on it. Doesn't sound like it, but that's 20,000 pounds, give or take. That's going to be a lot of wear and tear. The streets out there are rather nice, actually. They just got a lot of them got redone. And to the point, you could probably fit 60 trailers on this easily. Do the math. I did the math. You can easily fit 60 if you wanted to. Park them all around the perimeter. And I'm glad to hear you say you wanted to grow your business. You could. I can show you that. Yep, you can. So I'll continue. But
there wasn't a question.
There's 0.5 acres next to this site, and then there's 0.5 acres next to that site. So we are now going to set a precedent for them to expand if they wanted to. If they don't want to, then that's fine. But you said, oh, well, there's not really room. Well, there is. There's plenty of room. And again, I just am visualizing semi-truck rigs pulling in and out Sutel, and it's a heavy usage. It's just a heavy industrial usage. So, I mean, but I don't live there. I'm not over there often. I was over there this weekend, but that's why I'm deferring to the district councilwoman. So I think it's potentially going to be a mistake, but I applaud you for wanting to grow your business. I'm not upset about that, but I think when we look at these things, we look for competent, substantial evidence like everyone else has said up here. So those are my 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carlucci. You weren't that brief. All right, everyone is on for the second time. 2 minutes apiece. Mr. Arias.
Thank you, Chair. Very quick, 3 palm trees and a flower bed is not enough as a buffer, starting with that. Secondly, 6-foot fence with 100% opacity, that's not enough because while, yes, Mr. Cockrell, to the east and west, like you stated, is CCG1. To the north is RLD 60. To the south is CRO, abutting, like literally touching each other. So they are right next to each other. And because of that, a 6-foot fence is not even enough. 3, what type of fence will it be? We're doing 8-foot. 4, we're not doing this. In my opinion, we should not do this work on council night. We should not do committee work on council night. So to say, come back to us on Tuesday for us to decide what we're going to do, to have this conversation on council night, no. I recommend deferring this to next committee day to see what they come up with. Councilmember Pittman, I want to support you, but like my colleague, Mr. Carlucci, Mr. Johnson, if this was my district, this would not even be a conversation. If you want it, fine. Let's just have it the right way if possible. Let's defer this to the following committee day on whatever day that is. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson.
I too will keep it brief. The conditions I'd like to see, I tend to agree with my colleague, Councilman Arias. I'm so supportive of this based on what I see, but I think it has to be done properly. The conditions that I would offer, and I look forward to hearing from you and your team to work it together, but no more, it should be capped at no more than 20 vehicles at any time. If there are more, they would need to come back and get an exception from this committee. That's the first condition I'd like to see put in. And secondly, the fence of 8 to 10 feet around the property with visual obstruction of the things behind the property, which should enhance the visual appeal to those community members. Those are the two conditions that I offer. And I also, Mr. Chair, obviously it's your prerogative, or I could put that in the form of a motion, but I believe we should defer this so that we can work with the developer and get this done properly.
Everyone has their opinion. I think if you are ready to move that condition, we should move the condition and just vote it out and not do this all over again. We've already spent 45 minutes on this bill. I don't see why we need to do it all over again. I think I like your condition. If you want to move that, let's move that. And let's get this thing across the finish line. That was
Sir,
the recommendation.
through the chair, are you open to the conditions?
I am open, but let me just clarify some statements real quick that you made that were slightly incorrect through the chairman.
We don't need to talk about that. We're talking about the condition.
Yes, I know, but there is a 6-foot fence that's pre-existing on the perimeter, and there's an 8-foot already that we already proposed in the PUD in the rear. So for the record, that has already been proposed in the PUD, and a 6-foot already exists on the perimeter, on the sides.
So I'm just trying to understand. Have said 8 again through the chair. My recommendation is 8 to 10 feet with visual obstruction.
On which side?
The perimeter. That means the entirety of the property. That's what perimeter means. Do I need to define that further? Thank you. Those are the two conditions I have. I am moving these conditions. It looks like they're agreed to. Mr. Reingold, if you could again state them and make sure that we're in the right posture. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Reingold.
Through the chair to the council member, what I heard, well, first off, is there a second on okay, perfect. Got an amendment and a second. I'm going to interpret the amendment to mean the revised Exhibit 3, the revised Exhibit 4, and 2 conditions, which one is there shall be no more than 20 vehicles on the property, period. And 2, there shall be an 8 to 10 foot tall fence around the entire perimeter of the property. To the applicant, are you agreeable to the revised exhibits and the 2 conditions?
If this will move this forward, yes.
All in favor of those conditions signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The conditions pass with 1 nay vote. Yeah, the amendment passed. Sorry, with the condition. So, yeah. I have a motion second on the bill as amended with the conditions. I've known in the queue. Open the ballot, record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0212 as amended. All right, team. We've got our celebrity out of the way. She can go home, but we have a full agenda to get through. So again, let's please keep our comments up here concise and to the merit of the bills. So we're going to go back to page 1. Item number 1, 2024-0535. Open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue that public hearing until 6/17/25. Item 2, 2024-0539. That item is deferred. Item 3, 2024-0611. Let's open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue that public hearing until 6/17/25. Item 4, 2025-0091 is deferred. Item 5, 2025-0130, open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue that public hearing until 6/3/25. Item 6, 2025-0131, open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue that public hearing until 6/3/25. Item 7, 2025-0172 is deferred. Item 8, 2025-0173 is deferred. Item 9, 2025-0176, open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue that public hearing until 6/3/25. Item 10, 2025-0177 is deferred. We took up item 11. Item 12, 2025-0215, open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue that public hearing until 6/17/25. Item 13, 2025-0238. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-238 is a small-scale land use amendment. The request is to go from agriculture to residential, professional, institutional, and this is in the suburban area. The location, it's approximately 20.81 acres located on the south side of Normandy Boulevard, which is classified as an FDOT principal arterial roadway just west of Nathan Hale Road. This is about 2.5 miles west of the POW MIA Memorial Parkway, which is also a minor arterial roadway, and Cecil Airport. The Yellow Water Creek abuts the property on the east, and there are wetlands, sensitive wetlands on the site, and therefore this application was brought to the Waterways Commission on May 15th, where the Waterways Commission recommended approval to move forward. According to the application, the applicant intends to use the site for office uses, specifically fronting Normandy Boulevard. Potentially, there could be some residential uses, which is allowed in the RPI land use in the proposed CRO zoning that you'll see in the next application. The Cecil Field Conservation Corridor, which includes the regional park and the South Taylor Creek Preserve, are located north and south side of Normandy Boulevard, just east of the application site. There have been a number of changes in the immediate area along Normandy Boulevard. East of the site, approximately 44 acres was approved for the medium-density residential in 2024, and an additional 13 acres was approved to medium-density residential in 2022. LDR land use was approved just north, east, and west of the site in 2018, 2021, and 2022, and those were all large parcels, 53 acres, 103 acres. West of the site was approved for community general commercial uses, and this is just to give you an idea of the development pattern of the area and the changes in the area along Normandy Boulevard. There is a mix of commercial, recreational, residential, and government uses along the corridor. The proposed RPI land use results in a compatible development pattern. This is an underutilized property that could be used for the proposed uses allowed in the RPI land use, and it enhances the viability of non-residential development in the area while preserving the character of the existing neighborhoods. Additionally, the site will be served by central water and sewer services, and we forward a recommendation of approval. On May 8th, 2025, the Planning Commission reviewed the application with no additional discussion and recommended unanimously to approve.
Thank you very much. We have one speaker card. Zach Miller.
Yes, Zach Miller, 3203 Old Barn Court. I wasn't sure if you want to take up also the staff report on the zoning as well.
One at a time, sir.
Okay. Just on the RPI land use, the property is mostly wetlands. Specifically, it's about 21.5 acres, and 17.5 of it is wetlands. That basically leaves a small area of uplands right along Normandy Boulevard. That pretty much only allows for the office uses. The RPI does allow for some residential uses. Maximum density we could probably get on there, and I apologize to Councilman Romero, who had to hear this in Waterways last week. Probably 10 to 15 homes maximum, but with the 2,500 homes that have been approved on a half a mile in either direction of this property over the last 4 years, we think that office is probably a good complementary use.
Thank you, sir. That's our last speaker card. No one's in the queue. Let's bring it back to committee. Close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. I have a motion and a second on the bill. No one in the queue. Please open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0238. Moving on to item 14, 2025-0239. Please declare any ex parte communication you may have at this time. Going once, going twice, sold. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the companion application for rezoning ordinance 2025-239, which seeks to rezone 20.81 acres of property from agriculture to commercial residential office. The subject property is located on the south side of Normandy Boulevard, which at this point is a 2-lane FDOT principal arterial roadway. Normandy Boulevard in recent years has experienced a shift in development rights, including several rezonings from agricultural type developments to allow for commercial uses and wider variety of residential developments. The conventional rezoning is being sought to be compatible with existing development within the immediate area. The zoning district of CRO would allow office uses and residential uses, including both single-family and multifamily developments. The letter of JEA availability that was submitted with the application requested services for a 50,000 square foot office space. Staff finds the proposed request to be consistent with the proposed RPI land use category and forwards a recommendation of approval. This item was heard at the May 8th Planning Commission meeting. There were no speakers in opposition, and the Commission voted unanimously for approval.
Thank you so much. No one's in the queue for questions. One speaker card, Mr. Zach Miller.
Again, Zach Miller, 3203 Old Barn Court. I rely on my previous comments. The only thing I'd add is that while CRO does allow for multifamily, the limited amount of uplands doesn't make multifamily development here feasible. It's pretty much just office space and then possibly a handful of homes.
All right, thank you, sir. That's our last speaker card. Let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. I have a motion and a second on the bill. If no one in the queue, please open the ballot and record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2025-0239. Moving on to item 15, 2025-0240. Open the public hearing, and we'll get a staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-240 is a small-scale land use amendment. The request is to go from RPI, Residential Professional Institutional, to CGC, Community General Commercial. This is in the urban boundary area, and this is the companion will be a PUD to PUD. This is approximately a half of an acre. It's at the northwest intersection of Max Liggett Parkway and the CSX rail line right along Main Street. Max Liggett Parkway is a minor arterial roadway. Main Street is an FDOT principal arterial roadway. It's located along a commercial corridor. Max Liggett Parkway is within a mile from the River City Town Center and 2 miles from JIA. There are several new and ongoing developments in the area, mostly commercial with some multifamily development. The larger site was changed to RPI from light industrial in 2022. The site abuts RPI land use to the west, with CGC across Hyatt Road and south of the site. The properties fronting Max Liggett Parkway along this corridor and west of Main Street are almost all in the CGC or light industrial land use category. The location at an intersection of a major and minor arterial roadway is a preferred location for the CGC land use. It is a logical extension of existing CGC land use to the southwest and east. It encourages commercial development on Max Liggett Parkway, maintaining a compatible land use pattern, and the site will be served by central water and sewer services. We forward a recommendation of approval, and on May 8th, 2025, the Planning Commission heard the item, had minimal discussion, and recommended unanimously to approve.
All right, thank you for that report. We have one speaker card, Ms. Cindy Tremor.
Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. Helena did an amazing job, so I will just drive home the fact it was taken out of industrial to put to RPI for residential development. The northern part was developed for residential. The southern part is up against the commercial corridor, has not yet been developed, and commercial is the appropriate development for what's around there.
All right, thanks for adding that. That was our only speaker card, so let's close this public hearing and bring it back to committee. A motion and a second on the bill. If no one in the queue, please open the ballot and record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0240. Moving on to item 16, 2025-0241. Let's let the members declare ex parte. We have Reggie Gaffney Jr. Microphone.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I rise to declare ex parte. I met with Mr. Michael Sittner in my office, I think last Monday or Tuesday. I'll get the correct date to discuss this piece of legislation. He just asked me did I have any questions, went over the details, the ingress, egress, the ideal location, buffers, the whole 9 yards. I'll make sure everything get filed with legislative services. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gaffney. No one else, so we'll open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is the companion PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0241, which seeks to rezone approximately 0.49 acres of land from a PUD that was approved in 2022 to a new PUD. The rezoning is being sought to add the use of a service garage for minor or major repairs, with all work being conducted indoors and there being no outside storage. The current PUD allows for both residential and commercial uses typically found within the CCG1 zoning district, but did not include the currently proposed use of a service garage. The subject property is located on the north side of Hyatt Road, which is just west of Main Street North. The surrounding area is heavily commercialized intersection with gas stations, car washes, fast food restaurants, and other retail stores. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan with the approved land use category of CGC. We find it furthers the goals and objectives of the comp plan and meets the internal and external compatibility factors. The department finds that the use is compatible with the existing established pattern of development. So therefore, we are forwarding a recommendation of approval with the 3 exhibits in the staff report. The application was heard by Planning Commission on May 8th. There were no speakers in opposition and little discussion, and they voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you for that report. One speaker card, Miss Cindy Trimmer.
Thank you. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. This is a small addition to the existing commercial uses in the PUD to allow for a Take 5 oil change. You can see on the site plan, it's a very small-scale commercial operation. There's a parking ratio built in consistent with the other Take 5 applications you've seen because you don't get out of the car there. You stay in to go through your oil change, so it will be a nominal increase into that. There is a commercial development posed next door. You can also see on your site plan, again, small-scale drive-through. This will be consistent with that use, and we are available for questions.
Thank you very much. No other speaker card. Let's close this public hearing. Bring it back to committee. Got a motion and second on the bill. I have no one in the queue. Please open the ballot and record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0241. Moving on, item 17, 2025-0242. Open the public hearing, and we have some speakers. No action on this one tonight, but we have Reverend Aaron Flagg, followed by Don Morrison.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Flagg. Did she leave her drink?
Cindy, did you leave your drink up at the podium? Must have been cockerel.
Reverend Aaron Flagg, 3919 Robert C. Weaver Drive, Jacksonville, Florida, 32208. I think I was here last week in opposition to this 242 and 243. I'm retired from the railroad after 32 years at FEC Railway. I'm associate minister at Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church. I coached Pop Warner football for 32 years at Forest View Athletic Association. I retired from coaching, and now I'm just a chaplain. I'm a member of the Baptist Ministers Conference of Duval and adjacent county. I wear a lot of hats, gentlemen. I'm a board member for the Reebok Family Service Center, funded by the United Way. And I have my home on Robert C. Weaver Drive since 1976, which was my grandmother's house, and she had it since the mid-60s. Robert C. Weaver and that community, we are a generational wealth community, and that's what we want to keep it as. When you start with apartments, a lot of problems come with them. Crime, foot traffic, home B&Es, and we're talking about basically mostly senior citizens. I have over 42 names on this list. Did somebody take a copy of this last time? Can I submit it again? Over 40 signatures saying that we're in opposition to this. And we have senior drug users, we have senior drug pushers, and a lot of that stuff, and crime, and then the traffic. Also, just let it stay like it is, and let's continue to build single-family homes for generational wealth instead of building some whatever monstrosity they're talking about putting down there, which is going to bring down the integrity of our community. The bus stop is right on the corner of Robert C. Weaver Drive and Moncrief Road. That means if they come from there, if they build there and come from there, they got to come straight by my house. We've seen it happen. We've already had to get a trap house removed by the sheriff's office where there was a lot of traffic and foot traffic and breaking in homes. And we're elderly people. We're not the young people. Okay, my time up.
All right. Thank
I'm
you.
a preacher. God bless you. Thank you.
Amen.
I'm
Councilman Gaffney, you had something to add?
This will be quick. Through the chair, Mr. Flagg. Just make sure you get with Councilwoman Pittman and get with Mr. Hersberg. I know you came up last Tuesday and spoke opposed to this as well. Yes. So I will be voting in a couple of weeks. I mean, you could come speak again in a couple of weeks, but what I urge you to do is between now and before we vote, get with Councilwoman Pittman and see can y'all arrange a meeting with the community. I think it's one more other speaker with Mr. Hersberg as well. To talk about this project. Yep. I just recommend that. That's all.
Okay, Bro Gaffney, I'm retired, and that's not my job to set that up. Now, I mean, we can meet all day and all night.
So
I still stand behind these signatures. We don't want it.
Reverend Flagg, I'm going to have, this is Jackie Lee right here in the blue dress. She's going to make sure that you can get some information to Ms. Pittman, whether you want to meet or have someone else meet, but...
I've spoken with her, and I've told her.
All right.
We don't want it.
All right. Don Morrison, you're next. Mr. Morrison, are you here? No? Okay. All right, that's our last speaker card. This public hearing is continued to 6/3/25. Item 18, 2025-0243. We have 3 speaker cards. Don Morrison. Calling Don Morrison. Are you here? No. Let's open the public hearing and go through the speaker cards. Don Morrison is not here. Anthony Akins. Yes, we're on item 18, 2025-0243.
Again, good evening, council members. I was here the last time we spoke on this matter, and I agree with the Reverend.
Let me stop you real quick. Can you give us your name?
My name is Anthony Leon Akins. I reside at 3730 McMillan Avenue, 32208. As I was saying, I was here at the last meeting when we spoke on this, and I agree with the Reverend that we do not want this in our neighborhood. Now, I've already been to the Green Room the last time, okay? And we weren't contacted, got all the information, whatever. I received an email at 4:19 today asking me about, can we set up a meeting? This is the type of representation that we're receiving. We don't want this. We can't express it to the council member because they're always not around. They don't want to hear. I don't know if she's already made her decision. I don't care. She's telling me about my staff. Where can we meet? What are you talking about? Where can we meet? That is your job. That is her job, not mine to set up a meeting with the community. I told her, yes, I can go around and talk to people in my community.
Can we stick to the rezoning, the matters of the
rezoning
Yes,
matter
sir.
is that we don't want this stuff in here, and we're not getting representation about our concerns. We don't want it. We don't want three-story monstrosities sitting right across the street from my house. And the infrastructure won't support it anyway. But we have to go through this thing over and over and over and over again about what happens in our community, and we don't have anything to say about it. Time out for it. When are you going to start doing things that the community really wants, that you represent? This is what we're talking about. Don't need 90 additional family units on a 2-lane road with only 2 entrances from Moncrief Road to come into. 2 separate roads. This is so frustrating.
All right, thank you. We have one more speaker card. I believe Reverend Flagg is talking to Jackie, though. Can you guys hear me in the green room? Reverend Flagg, would you like to speak again? Door opening. Mr. Flagg, would you like to speak again on 2025-243? Yes, the companion, but I got a card, so you have 3 minutes if you want it, or you're good. All right, thank you. We know you're in opposition. All right, that's our last speaker on that one, so we'll continue the public hearing till 6/3/25. Moving on to item 19, 2025-0244. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-244 is a small-scale land use amendment. The proposal is to go from low-density residential to community general commercial and conservation land use. This is in the suburban area, and it's 6.73 acres located on the north side of Argyle Forest Boulevard. Argyle Forest Boulevard is a minor arterial roadway, and this is just west of the intersection with Rampart Road, a collector roadway. The site is adjacent to the villages of Argyle DRI, which is south of the site, and the Argyle DRI is over 8,000 acres, includes a mix of allowed uses along that corridor, both north and south. The applicant intends to use a portion of the site for commercial uses while preserving the remainder of the site that has sensitive wetlands in the conservation land use category. Because the sensitive wetlands on the site are proposed for the conservation land use, the land use application was not required to be heard by the Waterways Commission because these wetlands will be preserved and maintained. While the LDR land use category is the predominant land use in the area, the site is surrounded by a gas station to the east, which also fronts Argyle Forest Boulevard, wetlands and a church to the north, single family to the west. The proposed conservation portion of the site includes 3.5 acres on the western portion of the site that would buffer the existing single-family residential that's west of the site. The proposed change has minimal impact to nearby residential as it's buffered by wetlands and conservation land use or Argyle Forest Boulevard from all residential properties. The proposal would extend the commercial uses along Argyle Forest Boulevard. It's located on a minor arterial roadway, which is a preferred location for the CGC land use designation, and it would help support commercial uses for anticipated growth in the area and is considered infill development of an underutilized parcel. For those reasons, and as outlined in the staff report, we forward a recommendation of approval. On May 8th, 2025, the Planning Commission considered this application. There were 2 speakers opposed to the application. I'm concerned with the allowed uses in the CGC land use category, and that CGC does allow multifamily uses. It was subsequently explained that to the speaker that those uses would be limited with the companion PUD rezoning, which currently does not include multifamily or residential land use. And another speaker spoke concerned about traffic and the lack of deceleration lanes for access to the property. Ultimately, after discussion, the Planning Commission recommended unanimously to approve the application.
All right, thank you very much. I have 3 speaker cards. Garrett George is here for questions only. He's in support. Kristen Rosado is next. No, questions only. And then Bill Lewis. who is now in support. Sounds like the councilman has been doing his job, making things happen. Right, Dr. J?
Well, miracles never anyway. My name is Bill Lewis. I'm the president of Argyle Area Civic Council. I live at 8852 Ivy Mill Place South. We had a great meeting May 13th in the green room. In attendance was John Draper, former Jacksonville City Council member, Rockman Johnson, current City Council member, Andrew Powers, his awesome assistant, Dylan Reingold, General Counsel's Office, Helena Parola, Planning Department, and Kristen Rosado, attorney, and Garrett George for CESO Inc. And what we came to the conclusion of is if we can keep this project off Argyle Forest Boulevard and use the easement with racetrack, they don't have to move power poles, which is about $200,000 thing there, and don't have to do any crazy curb cuts. And so we look forward to the new site plan for the storage facility with using the racetrack easements. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That's our last speaker card. We will close this public hearing and bring it back to committee. Got a motion and a second on the bill. No one's in the queue. Let's open the ballot, record your vote. Hold it open.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0244. Moving on to item 20, 2025-0245. Council members declare any ex parte communication you may have at this time. Dr. Johnson? Oh, okay. It's not on mine. It just says District 14 Johnson. It's all right. If you have to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I need to redeclare. I met with them I thought it was on the record, but I came back and I spoke to it at our last meeting. I know there was a changeover, so it could be some issues. But anyway, I declare ex parte. We talked about the site plan review and the conditions and any of the other the things that were discussed about curb cuts and or using the adjacent racetrack gas station. I will recheck with legislative services to make sure all of those things are filed properly. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So let's go ahead and open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is the companion PUD rezoning, ordinance 2025-0245, which seeks to rezone approximately 6.73 acres of land from a PUD that was approved back in 2007 to a new PUD. The rezoning is being sought to amend the existing PUD to include a personal self-storage facility as a permitted use. The current PUD allows for a mixed-use development of office and professional uses, and then also some commercial and retail type uses. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan, with the approved land use category of CGC and conservation. We find it furthers the goals and objectives of the comp plan and meets the internal and external compatibility factors. The subject property is located on the north side of Argyle Forest Boulevard near the intersection of Rampart Road. The adjacent parcel to the east is developed with a racetrack gas station. The property to the north is owned R.R. Acre and is owned by the city of Jacksonville and contains a stormwater retention pond. And the parcel to the west is developed with a single-family home, which will be buffered by the proposed 3.3 acres of land under conservation. The proposed self-storage facility could produce up to 10 daily vehicle trips, and after review from Development Services and the Transportation Division, the department is forwarding a condition requiring an internal cross-access scheme to allow for vehicle-free access to all facilities on the site. The development will also include cross-access to the neighboring parcel to the east, that's the racetrack gas station. The previous PUD also was approved with a condition related to signage. Based on the request to only add one use to the proposed PUD, we are forwarding that condition onto the new PUD. We find the proposed development to be appropriate for the area, so we're forwarding a recommendation of approval with the 3 exhibits in your staff report and 2 conditions listed in your agenda. This item was heard by the Planning Commission on May 8th, where there were 2 speakers in opposition with concerns related to traffic along Argyle Forest Boulevard and the need for deceleration lanes entering the subject parcel. After discussion amongst the commissioners about the traffic impacts to Argyle Forest Boulevard from the proposed development, the commission requested a condition to be added to require a traffic study be conducted. So the commission voted unanimously for approval with 3 conditions, the 2 from the planning department and the 3rd for the traffic study, and all 3 are listed in your agenda.
All right, thank you for that report. Let's go through the speaker cards. We have Garrett George, questions only. In support, we have Kristen Rosado, questions only, and we have Bill Lewis in support. Bill's going with questions only. So let us close this public hearing and bring it back to committee. I have a motion and second on the amendment. Is that the amendment with the Planning Commission conditions? All right, Mr. Reingold.
Thank you very much. So there are 3 Planning Commission conditions. Wouldn't mind if Mr. George could come up, because I want him just to agree to the conditions. So as I'm going through them, slight tweak to the first condition. It's really non-substantive in nature, but it helps work it through, is that it would be this PUD will require an internal cross-access plan, which would be reviewed and approved by the Development Services Division at Civil Site Plan Review to allow vehicle free access to all facilities on the subject property. Second condition, 1 monument sign is permitted on Argyle Forest Boulevard, not exceeding 150 square feet in area and 20 feet in height, and may be internally illuminated. 2 wall signs per building are permitted, not exceeding 100 square feet in area collectively, and may be internally illuminated. And finally, the 3rd condition is that a traffic study shall be provided at Civil Site Plan Review. The traffic study shall meet the requirements of the Land Development Procedures Manual, Section 1.1.11, January 2024. And with that, I turn it through the chair, if I may, to the applicant to see if he is agreeable to those conditions.
Through the chair, yes, we're agreeable to all 3 conditions.
All right, sounds good. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendment carries. We got a motion and a second on the bill as amended with the conditions I have no in the queue. Please open the ballot, record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0245. Moving on to item 21, 2025-0246. Council members, please declare any ex parte you may have at this time. Councilman Arias.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to declare ex parte. I received a phone call and text message from Chris Hagan asking me if I had any questions today on the rezoning, and it's being filed with Legislative Services. Thank you.
Councilman Amaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, received a phone call from Mr. Hagan today in reference to the legislation and wanting to know if I have any questions. That information has been filed with Legislative Services.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Gaffney, Jr.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I also would like to file ex parte. Mr. Hagan also texted me this morning, I think like 10 o'clock, and asked me did I have any questions about this legislation. All right, thank you. I'll make sure everything is filed.
Councilman Carlucci.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clear ex parte. I spoke to Mr. Hagan today over the phone, asked if I had any questions, let me know that he wasn't going to be here, but Ms. Molly was going to be here, and this will be filed with Legislative Services.
All right, thank you very much. I also have ex parte. I received a phone call last week from Mr. Hagan, which he said he was too cool for us and he was going on some fancy trip and he wasn't going to be here. Yeah. Anyway, no, he just said that Molly would be here in his place, and if I had any questions about the rezoning, which I didn't, we'll get that updated and filed with Legislative Services. So now that that's out of the way, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0246, which seeks to rezone approximately 0.12 acres of land from CCG1 to a PUD. The rezoning is being sought to allow the use of a retail sales and service of all alcoholic beverages. This includes liquor, beer, and wine for on-premises consumption in conjunction with a restaurant as a permitted use by right, rather than by a zoning exception in the CCG1 zoning district. The PUD also is seeking to waive Part 8 requirements for distance limitations between a liquor license location and a church or school. Anytime a liquor license holder or business name changes, the property must seek a new zoning exception or a waiver of liquor distance. So what the PUD will allow is for the restaurant with the alcohol sales to continue without needing a new exception or a waiver each time a new owner comes in. The current business, Matthews, received a zoning exception and a waiver approval back in 2006, which did include some conditions. Those conditions have been incorporated into the new PUD's written description. So those included there should be no live entertainment at the restaurant except for musicians playing a non-amplified string instrument. There shall be only low volume speakers outside the restaurant or in the outside seating area to provide very soft music that is not audible from the church property. And then on Sundays, alcohol shall not be served until after 12 noon local time. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the comp plan with the existing land use category of CGC, and we find it furthers the goals and objectives of the comp plan and meets the internal and external compatibility factors. The property is located within San Marco overlay and will meet all the requirements of the overlay development standards except for the rear yard setback, which will be reduced from 10 feet to 0 feet due to the existing structure being built on the entire lot with no ability to provide that required setback. The subject site is located at the southeast corner of Alfred Place and Hendricks Avenue. To the north is the San Marco Publix and Shopping Center, located within a PUD that also includes the permitted use of all alcohol sales and a waiver from the Part 8 requirements. We find the proposed PUD and the requested waiver to be appropriate for the area. And because of these reasons and those in the staff report, we're forwarding a recommendation of approval with the 3 exhibits in the staff report. Application was heard by Planning Commission on May 8th, where there were no speakers in opposition and little discussion, and they voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you. 2 speaker cards. We've got Molly Peterson, questions only. And we've got Chrissy Bott.
Chrissy Bott, address on file. I'm actually only going to oppose this for one simple reason. I spoke with Chris Hagan personally at a CPAC meeting and asked him, is there any benefit you receive from going from your current CCG or CCG1 to PUD? And his response was simply, no. It will not add any benefit whatsoever to the status or the operation of this business, and that there was nothing that needed to be done. So the request to go from CCG1 to PUD seems frivolous. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Arias.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have the same sentiments as Ms. Bott. While I understand, the district council member, you guys, San Marco, how the whole structure of the zoning is, you're looking at changing the future use. So, like for right now, sorry, I was just gathering my thoughts. We're dealing with the M brothers, the Medura brothers, right now, right? For this one, all right. So
I'm sorry, Molly, you're gonna have to come down at the podium. I know you don't want to.
All right, through the chair, Ms. Peterson, we're dealing with the M brothers right now. Their naming change, I guess, to a different LLC, right? But what if in 10 years from now there'll be a different restaurant there that we may not be as lenient with because we don't know their business model? Mm-hmm. So we're essentially changing this to waive this in the future from any other restaurant to have to apply to get an exception. So if you can guarantee me that M Brothers will be there for the next 300 years, all right, cool. But who knows? So the reason why this is in place is so that we could protect the neighbors to ensure that the right person is there, and we grant them the permission to sell alcohol by exception and all that kind of stuff based off the waivers. So I don't understand the reasoning behind this, in my opinion. Is there a reason that you could give me like an actual logical reason aside from the fact that they're just changing their LLC name?
Well, that part, I can't speak to changing the LLC name, because we did everything under the D&M Associates name, which is what it's in now.
You got to state your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Molly Peterson, 200 North Laura Street, Suite 700, 32202. I can't, like I said, I can't speak to the change of their name because we did this under the D&M Associates name. So that is something that I would ask Mr. Major to answer. But I can say this: we were helping them with their San Marco Boulevards on 2002 San Marco Boulevards, the Leia Cafe, and we helped them with 2 exceptions. And because we were already doing that, he said in the future, if he were to ever sell this, he knows, like it was said, it's easier to sell if it's wrapped up in a PUD because of the alcohol and liquor license. And so we cut him a deal and didn't charge as much to do 2 at the same time. So that was why there's the timing right now of doing it. It was not because of any plans to sell it. And it actually, there were, under the CCG one, there were 25 permitted uses and 22 permissible uses by exception. And so we cut a whole lot of those down and took out things like dancing, entertainment establishments, or nightclubs serving alcohol. We kept all the stipulations that were in the current PUD. Before we even started the process, we met with Councilmember Carlucci Jr., and we spoke with the pastor of the church that abuts the property too, because we wanted to maintain and curate the same standards that Matthews has there. So we took out a lot of the light manufacturing, fabricating, warehousing, personal property storage, pawn shops, a lot of the current permissible and permitted uses, so that it would be as narrow as possible to try to maintain those standards.
Well, Ms. Peterson, you gave me a great answer, great response, so thank you for that. The reason why I will be supporting it today is because I'm looking at the site map, and it's literally right in between 2 PUD properties. It just makes sense. It fits, the integrity of the neighborhood. But I will defer to Councilmember Joe Carlucci just to hear his thought, if anything. Thank you.
No one's on the queue. Do you want to respond?
Yeah, no, I'll just opine on it. I mean, ultimately, Matthews has been there. He's been a good neighbor, and the neighbors in the community are comfortable with allowing this to remain kind of what it already has been. It's been Matthews Restaurant through the chair for how long? Or just a fine restaurant dining establishment for how long?
The 1990s.
Yeah, it's so...
the late 1900s.
Right, the late 1900s, back in the day. So, no, I don't have any heartburn over it. I've maybe received one phone call where it was just a question of, well, why is it doing it like this? And I gave him the explanation, and it was fine. So there's really no change, so to speak. But yeah, thank you, Ms. Peterson.
All right, Councilman Diamond.
Thank you through the chair, Ms. Peterson. I definitely want to support this. I just have one hang up though. Is how does this comply with the 2000 Salem amendments?
The 2000 Salem Amendment?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that is. Can you remind me?
Through the chair, you win for honesty. We just make it up, and if it's your first time up there, you get that question. So good job. Hagan made me do it.
All right, no one else in the queue. Good job, Molly.
Thank you.
Let's open the ballot, record your vote. I'm sorry, do I have an amendment or something? What did I do? Oh, close the public hearing. All right, it's getting late. I have a motion, a second on the amendment. Mr. Reingold.
The amendment simply corrects the date of the written description in the bill.
Thank you, sir. All in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Amendment carries. I have a motion, a second on the bill as amended. I have no one in the queue. Please open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0246. Item 22, 2025-0247, no speaker cards. Or open the public hearing. We have no speaker cards. We'll continue the public hearing until 6/3/25. Item 23, 2025-0248. Council members, please declare any ex parte you may have at this time. Seeing none, we will open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0248, which seeks to rezone approximately 1 acre of land from CCG1 to a PUD. The rezoning is being sought to allow for a townhome development with a maximum of 25 units, with the site plan showing a proposed development of 19 units. The PUD differs from the conventional code by allowing townhomes by right rather than by a zoning exception in CCG1. And it decreases the required front yard setback from 20 feet to 0 feet along Edgewood Avenue in order to shift the structures farther away from the existing single-family properties to the north, and will allow for driveway access in the rear of the property instead of along Edgewood Avenue. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the land use category of CGC, which allows for a maximum gross density of 40 units per acre within the urban development area. So this is a 1 acre parcel, and they're proposing 19 units. We find it furthers the goals and objectives of the comp plan and meets the internal and external compatibility factors. The height of the structures have been limited to 35 feet, and the townhomes have been shifted again farther away from the existing single family to the north, providing 55 feet between the structures and the north property boundary. The property is located on the north side of Edgewood Avenue, which is classified as a collector roadway. This section of Edgewood Avenue between Cassett Avenue and Post Street is currently operating at 16% capacity. The surrounding area is a mix of commercial uses, multifamily residential that includes the lofts of Murray Hill, which is just east of the subject site, and again, single-family dwellings to the north. We find this to be a perfect location for a higher density and a wider variety of housing types due to its walkability of the neighborhood's commercial uses. So therefore, we're forwarding a recommendation of approval with the 3 exhibits in the staff report. Application was heard by Planning Commission on May 8th, where there were several speakers in opposition with concerns related to traffic at the intersection of Edgewood Avenue and Quincy Street. Additional concerns raised were related to limited existing parking within the area and then flooding within the immediate area. The commission felt that this was an appropriate location for townhomes and had no concerns about the redevelopment of the site, and they voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you very much for that report. We have some speaker cards, 3. First is Cindy Trimmer.
Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. You see us here week after week, constantly looking for appropriate places to put townhome product. This is CGC in the urban area. This is a particular stretch of Edgewood where we've already invested a lot of money into completing the road diet. So that road diet you see on the site plan is actually in place today. The townhome product that's here is intended to complement the revitalization that is occurring further south on Edgewood and working its way up this corridor. The tweaks that you see in the PUD are intended to really make an urban townhome product so that the townhomes are pulled up to the street front. Those stoops engage directly with the sidewalk, so you have that very walkable vibe. We've put the rear entry with garages and driveways to the back, so you have that good buffer. Notably, there is an existing masonry wall along that property boundary that will stay and serve as a very substantial buffer between the single-family residential behind and the new townhome product. Also notably, we are really improving the traffic along Edgewood. If you look at the site plan, you can see on the aerial, there's 5 or 6 different curb cuts coming in and out of this site today. It's a little bit of a free-for-all. We're really going to streamline what's coming in and out of this site with the primary access off of Quincy and then one way out coming onto Edgewood. We did hear feedback at the Planning Commission hearing. There was a lot of talk about how access would happen at the site. Again, this is a commercial area. They could put something very dense, very tall here. This is a much smaller scale than what you could do by right with a lot of the other uses. There was also a lot of discussion regarding the experience along Quincy and concerns that the tree canopy there be preserved. The developer is committed to preserving as much of that natural mature tree canopy as possible and also extending walkability with any of the sidewalk improvements that might be required. With that, I'll pause, hear from the community members that are here, and look forward to addressing any questions.
All right, thank you very much. I have 2 speaker cards left. We have Payman Adebayo and Len Burrows after that.
Good evening. My name is Payman Abadi. I live on Meteor Street, 553. I've been a resident in this street for over 18 years. I walk quite a bit along Edgewood Avenue almost every day. I can speak to you as a resident, or I can speak to you as an architect and tell you what my problem with this site plan is. You see, when they ask the city of Austin city limit if they have appropriate public transportation on Austin city limit, everybody voted that, yeah, we kind of have appropriate public transportation. But the irony of that was city of Austin city limit did not have any public transportation. So the reason I'm bringing this up, I'm asking you, does Meteor Street, does somehow, or what type of drainage system has? And the answer to that is, well, Meteor Street does not have a drainage system in place. It's gravity feed to the Quincy. So now you know what's at stake. Last time at the commissioner meeting, I mentioned how important those trees are, and they agreed to save them. But then the site plan shows they're only 10 feet away. I mean, let's face it, this is 6 feet. This is 6 feet. So what they're proposing, and this is what I thought about, a Murray Hill typical single family sits on a lot that is 100 feet long, 50 feet wide. So what does it do? It does, when the roof runoffs comes in, it hit the ground, it filters the runoff water. What they're proposing with the zero lot line along Edgewood, I think is the setback is 5 feet. The water runoff does not get to filter. So there's a lot of runoff water comes in to an existing and tired and overtasked drainage system along Edgewood Avenue. It does not get to be filtered. They claim that they're not making it worse. I disagree. There are 19 homes in there. So today, I'm not only here to say the awareness of the trees along the Quincy that is already narrow, that is already difficult to walk, but also I want to raise the awareness that you guys are approving this and not even thinking about the drainage. Drainage is going to be a problem. And here's another thing. You guys are approving a PUD, which some gentleman said it needs to improve, to enhance the community, but it's also putting such a burden on a drainage system. I'm out of time.
Thank you. Next we have Lynn Burrows.
Hi, I'm Lynn Burrows, 932 Ingleside Avenue. That's about 2 blocks from this property. It was a funeral home for probably around 40 years. I've lived at 932 Ingleside for 49 years. And over the years, it's been at least a dozen times that Edgewood Avenue was closed when this was a funeral home, which allowed for some drainage around the edges. And right now, there's 2 areas in the parking lot that have 7 big oak trees. The smallest one's about 1 foot in diameter, and then the rest of them are 2 and 3 feet in diameter. All of those would have to go. To get 19 units on this property that is they would only be like 18 foot wide, 19 units, 19 parking places. You use every square millimeter of land. It is all paved and covered. It flooded already. It closed Edgewood already. What will it do now? Where will this water go? Anyway, not to mention, I don't see how they can save any of these trees. Anyway, guys, trying to put 19 units, I'm just hoping the developer might think it through a little better and realize there's got to be provisions made for the drainage somehow or the other. Thank you very much.
All right, that is our last speaker. So we'll go ahead and close this public hearing unless Mrs. Trimmer has close the public hearing. Motion and a second on the bill. Councilman Gaffney.
This will be quick through the chair. I just want to make sure the drainage. I mean, I don't want to ignore, disregard the community concerns. If we could get some type of explanation, clarification on in terms if this will affect the community in terms of drainage before we move forward.
Through the chair to Councilman Gaffney. So drainage will be looked at through civil site plan review. So whatever is existing there on site pre-development, they would have to be able to capture all that water on site. Post-development, you would not be able to divert it onto neighboring parcels. And all that gets looked at during the civil review process phase.
All righty. No one else is in the queue. We have moved the bill, right? All right, open the ballot, record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0248. We are going to skip to our last action item, which is on page 15, item 33, 2025-0274. Council members declare any ex parte you might have. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is ordinance 2025-274, which seeks a waiver of road frontage to reduce the required frontage from 80 feet to 0 feet. The property is a 2.25 acre lot located at the dead end of Acosta Road and is currently zoned RR acre. The zoning code requires that a lot front a public right-of-way or private road for at least 80% of the minimum lot width in order to be developed with a single-family dwelling. For the RR acre zoning district, a lot would need at least 80 feet of frontage. While this proposed lot does not have frontage along Acosta Road, the property owner has been granted a 30-foot wide easement through 11928 Acosta Road and will be utilizing this easement as an access. The proposed 30-foot easement is also sufficient for emergency services access. A similar waiver of road frontage was granted to 11914 Acosta Road in 2005. Staff finds the request consistent with the comprehensive plan and compatible with the surrounding area, and therefore forwards a recommendation of approval.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and call up our speaker. Actually, it's Michael Hoffman, but he chooses not to speak. Here for questions only, in support. So let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Got a motion and a second on the bill. If no one in the queue, please open the ballot and record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0274. All right, the following bills will be deferred for public hearing on June 3rd, 2025. 2025-267, 268, 269, 270, 271, 272, and 273. Following bills are on second reading. 2025-305, 306, 307, 308, 309, 310, 311, 312, 313, 314, 315, and 321. All hearts and minds are cleared. We are adjourned.